Mars, the planet of change, change of direction, momentum, decisions, action, and forward trajectory, has been moving retrograde since October 30th, and he's finally going to head into direct motion on January the 12th, and it's going to feel like you have an area of your life that you have been backpedaling, tracing old ground on, maybe even just stuck, not able to make those decisions or take those actions or move forward in a way you really want to. And finally, you got that momentum again, and you're going to take incredible, powerful, and positive actions over the next month or two as he finishes his 7-month stay in the sign of Gemini. Started August 20th, finishes March 25th. The really good news about this Mars turning direct is he's doing it on a very powerful and blessed star called Aldebaran. It gives you a sword of power as you move forward. It gives each of us a chance to do something exceptional in our lives and to move forward as well with the really cool blessings that this god of war and conflict is actually moving into great harmony as he progresses forward with asteroids Juno for committed and contracts and agreements, going into flow with Chiron, the wounded healer, and even flowing with Mercury later on in the narrative. So he kind of goes forward and makes all these loving contacts with a bunch of other planets rather than getting into a battle with them. So we're going to talk about how that progresses over the next few months for each of us and for the collective. If you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm a Hellenistic astrologer using whole sign houses. Let's turn that fireplace on. And I use Time Lord tools and techniques, and I also dabble in Babylonian astrology as well as some Vedic astrology. Primarily, I'm a traditional astrologer. If you are into astrology and you want to cast your chart in whole sign houses so you can see what it looks like in the ancient tradition, which is, I think, humbly speaking, the most accurate, and you can only time things with that system properly, go look in my description box below. That same tutorial, free video giveaway, where I teach you how to do this using free online software, is also really good for generating your ascendant if you do not know your rising sign. Today, in honor of Mars, and my name is Lori Lothian. Today, in honor of Mars, I found this mug in my girlfriend's house, which is interestingly perfectly the color-ish of Mars. And so we're doing, and my earrings have a little bit of that red in it. So we're doing the Mars honoring today. So let's get going and talk about what we have to say with my green tea and Mars. Number one, Mars stationing means Mars is slowed down over the last, like in January for the first, all of January until he turns around. He's been sitting at 8 degrees, right? And he's going to be at 8 degrees of Gemini where he's stationed and then moves forward until nearly the end of January. So we have a lot of momentum and energy constellating as Mars was grinding to a slow down and then a movement to turn around, right? So you could really look at that 8th degree of Gemini, and if you have a planet in your sky anywhere on 3 degrees of either side of 8 degrees of Gemini, you really, really felt this feeling of slowing down, going inward, looking at your life, introspectively regarding decisions you need to make, choices and actions you want to take, momentum and drive and passion and will. These are Mars stories, and they all kind of been like, in stasis, like almost like a deer in the headlight. Like, what am I supposed to do? And now that's breaking free. Now, like the just do it energy is coming back to you and to me. But if you have planets near 8 Gemini, then those planets got involved in this stasis and they'll be involved in this forward momentum. All right. Just as a general, you need to know woman here, I'm telling you that. Also, anybody with planets in the houses angular to Gemini, right? So across the way is Sagittarius. And then in the equidistant cross, 90 degrees away, we have Pisces and Virgo. These people also, we're strongly feeling energetically, if your rising sign, sun or moon is in those angular houses, especially, you would have felt you sun, moon and rising people in Pisces and Virgo and Sag, as well as Gemini, the intensity of this incredibly intense retrograde. And it's really intense because it is a once in a lifetime event when we are living through, in which we have Mars moving through one sign in the tropical Western zodiac. I'm a tropical Western astrologer, modern Western zodiac, for this long, like August 20th to March the 25th. It's insane, right? You haven't seen it before. I haven't seen it before. The last time you moved through one sign for a long time was 6 months in the sign of Aries. And that was like midsummer of 2020 to like Insurrection Day in the United States on January 21, when he broke into Taurus and all shit hit the fan. Excuse my language, but so you go back and that was a 6-month stay in Aries, but this is a 7-month stay in Gemini. So this has really been intense for Gemini people, if you're a Gemini sun, moon, but more so rising sign, because the sun could be your mom, the moon could be your dad, the sun can be your safety and security needs, and the moon can be your safety and security needs and emotional set points, and the sun can be your career and purpose. So in other words, that's things in your life or people in your life, which is why I encourage you to listen for your rising sign, because your rising sign is your character you're playing in this lifetime. It's your identity as you were born and your Eastern horizon lined up when you took your first breath and someone looked at their watch, and it becomes your sort of the role you're here to play. It's mostly about you, and circumstances in your life are reflected most accurately on your rising sign. So, and we talked about angularity. We talked about people with their sun, moon, and rising in those other signs. But I also want to say, of course, degrees matter. So because the stationing, the slowing down was happening for so long at 8 degrees. And in fact, it's been like really slow. I mean, the last 2 days before the 12th, which he goes direct around close to 1 p.m. Pacific time, to be exact, he's still been sitting at that 8th degree for a long time. For me, that's my IC. It's at 8 degrees of Gemini. And the big thing that's been going on for me is my home, right, where I live, and also stuff with my children, because my IC is floating in my 5th house using whole sign houses. But it's been intense for me as well. But at least it's trining my Aquarius rising. So in your case, just look to the degree of your rising sign. If it's anywhere near 8 degrees of these mutable signs of Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo, then this has been a very intense retrograde period and slowing down to station direct period for you, with this energy so close to your ascendant. So in late December all through January, you've been feeling it. You may have felt like a pent up energy, or you need to move forward but you're not ready, or like a racehorse at the gate, chomping to go for the race, but no one's opened the gate yet. Now the gate is opening for all of us, not just the signs I mentioned, and so we're all going to feel a lot of momentum, not necessarily right away. Let me put it this way: he's moving really slowly, so I shouldn't use a racehorse analogy. It's like you have to gear up, like it's a car trying to go from 0 to 100, but it's not the car that can do it really quickly. So it's gearing up for momentum, directional change, passion, new willpower, new sense of being driven forward. But it has to go, it has to gear up, do. So I mean, basically I'm saying be patient, because this is not an overnight story. Certainly in the first 3 weeks after, it's really grindy and slow. Now, compared to what will happen as time passes and Mars begins to move faster and faster, especially in February. He's moving really quickly into March. Now, because he's got to go through all the way through 8 degrees to the end of the sign in that time to exit stage left on March 25th. I talked about the angular signs getting a lot of intensity, but the air signs get a lot of love. So if you are a Aquarius or a Gemini or a Libra, sun, moon, or rising, this energy of Mars bounding forward at last is going to be in a trine or flow relationship to your identity, especially your rising sign. So you guys are enjoying this. This is good for you. Contrary to that, Taurus people, Cancer people, Capricorn people, and Scorpio people, especially rising sign, are kind of not really feeling much at all. So it's not like you shouldn't pay attention to this, especially because there are planets that Mars will interact with as we go through the month. I'll talk about that. But I want you to know that it's not the biggest deal for you, okay? Because your ascendant or sun and moon will be in aversion, which is 30 degrees or 150 degrees away from where Mars is going direct. You're kind of watching on the sidelines. You guys are the spectators, okay? So you guys, you Taurians and you Cancerians and you Capricornians and you Scorpion types, you are like, oh, watch that Mars thing over there, like with your popcorn on the bench, where getting directly activated, of course, are the real, the mutables, which I already talked about. Again, I'll say once more, Gemini, Sag, Virgo, and Pisces. They get like real action, and when they go cut, cameras, lights, action. Yeah, camera, lights, action. That's what's happening for those signs. They're moving into bounding action, where the flow energy for the air signs like the Aquarians and the Libras and the Geminis can be a little bit more of a gentle upgrade towards clarity, momentum, and action in a flowing and easy way. Alrighty. I talked about the fixed star Aldebaran associated with Archangel Michael, one of the 4 royal Persian stars, sits at 8 degrees of Gemini. This is exactly where, we're going to do all signs, by the way, we always do that, but I have to give you the overview. This is exactly where Mars is moving forward. In this video, I'm not going to do stuff about the world at large, but I would say that Mars moving forward can escalate wars or finally bring resolutions to wars if wars have been stuck. Because just before he's going direct, he formed around the 9th and 10th of January, a loving trine with the goddess of peace, Venus. And that could have represented a behind the scenes actions to create peace in a warring country or warring place, or like the Ukraine, I don't know. And then he will move forward. Technically, Mars is in the 7th house of the United States when he's moving forward, which is known opponents or visible enemies. And so this could be some new momentum with the United States involvement in the Ukraine war, or some declarative statements regarding peace, given he was powwowing with Venus just before he stationed retrograde. Stationed direct. I always said direct in all my talk so far. But Aldebaran is a warrior star, and he's got a friggin' sword in his hand, and even Archangel Michael has a sword. I mean, it's a swordy warrior archetype, but it is still a blessed star. It does want to bring power and good things to the world in general. It's often associated with a mastery of communication as well. The word is my sword or something. And so maybe words of communication regarding warring situations can be happening to create peace. Or someone has a wordy threat. This is Gemini after all, I don't know, Ukraine or Russia boldly declare some horrible threat to each other or to the United States, because it's in the United States 7th house. And this catalyzes some real momentum to resolve what is turning into a Vietnam of modern day. It's ridiculously ongoing. If you know anything about the Vietnam War, some people who are historical people who do war novels and research wars, it really was described often as a police action. The United States was engaging in a police action, not a war. Whatever you want to call it, it got to be a mire and a bog. And unfortunately, many, many, many young men lost their lives in that war. So this is a situation where tragically men have lost their lives, and probably women, in this war, both on the Russian and not just the civilians. I mean, the warriors are losing their lives. So in this case, I think there's something new coming through. I think Mars is breaking free, breaking forward, and will do something good. Vladimir Putin has his Mars in Sagittarius across from where Mars is breaking free. Not exactly, of course, at a different degree, but Mars will be moving across from Vladimir Putin, right? So away, the other side of him, opposing his natal Mars, is in his own warrior energy. So there's a possibility here too that he'll have to stand down, or he will be forced to stand down, or whatever, something like that. But I don't want to do too much of the collective. I want to focus on you guys today. I am recording on January 7th. This goes to my Patreon community. If you want to get ad-free content ahead of the curve before the public, then you just have to subscribe for $5 a month, and you can cancel at any time if you don't like it. All right, so check the link below in my description box for how to join my Patreon community. It's nice and intimate, and we have a free once a month meeting with me, and only 42 Patreons. So you might want to jump in, because at this point I can do these intimate monthly meetings where we talk about astrology and charts, and your chart as well. All right, so moving forward, the other thing I would say is that there's 2 asteroids. I'm an asteroid junkie. Let me show you this to you. I'm going to declare myself addicted to asteroids, fully addicted. Yeah, more so than my love of wine, which I haven't had because I'm doing dry Jan, and I haven't had wine since January, since December 31st. This is the sky, and there's Mars, and he's at 8 degrees, and you can see he has been with Venus chatting, but now that's a waning, delineation. It's ending, it's lightening up his trine to Venus, which is why I'm hopeful that he can bring some peace, because it's the last person he talked to before he went direct. And you can see that he's stationed here, literally at 8 degrees and 7 minutes. If you're into numerology, that's a 6, okay? 6 is the energy of that. make it what you will, or if you want to jump it up to 15, it's a 15. It has a lot to do with the Devil card and the Tarot, but then the Lovers as well. And there's something about the Lovers number 6 that I find fascinating in the Major Arcana, because you can see that up here, there's a lot of stuff going on. That girl up here is called Juno, and she's sitting up there in the top of the sky with Neptune. And you can also see that we have this contact over here with these asteroids. And you're probably wondering what the hell those asteroids are. Alrighty, those asteroids, bless their souls, are Arachne, the weaver, who outbested the gods in her weave off with Athena. So it's about weaving something that's masterful, that you have a genius and skill at, and you can best the gods because of that. Like, you've got the goods, right? And I don't know who created the glyphs. This is Hercules. I can see that he's got his arm up like a muscle man. And Hercules, the 12 labors of. Well, I mean, Hercules is what you labor at, that you put all your effort into, but it's worth the price of admission, at the end of the day. So there's something you need to work at, but you can have a genius skill. You can see they're both exactly at 8 degrees, right? I can annotate that if you like, that they're both at 8 degrees. Like, look at that. All right. And to me, that's like, holy man. And so is Mars. These guys can't be discounted. They're minor asteroids, 24,000 named asteroids in the asteroid belt. They count. They count because they're so precisely in a square to Mars. Now, it could be a real catalytic energy about something you need to have mastery in your life, or you do have a gift or skill at that's so profoundly amazing, and that you have to do the Herculean work, but you're ready for it because Mars is now getting to go direct. And before he does, he's having tips his hat to them, because a square is the nature of Mars. And so this is not necessarily a bad thing. Technically, that's like, okay, so what's the combination? And they're applying to Mars. This is a superior position to Mars. So there's pressure from Arachne, the weaver who bested the gods with her weaving of tapestries. And she even exposed the gods, like an expose. She did a tapestry that talked about all the foibles of the gods. And of course, she got in trouble for that. And then she got rewarded for that. It's a cool myth, and became a spider eternally weaving in the heavens. But also, it's also hard work. There's Hercules there, and you have to really push through the brave, hard working, heroic Hercules to get the goods to work. And they're both pressuring Mars. So in a way, Mars does like to take bold and dramatic and sometimes rash and reckless action. But there's a quality at the top of the sky that suggests a little bit more of a like, we're going to do this, but we're going to dig in, and it's going to be a Herculean effort, but it's worth it. Whatever the thing is, when we get to your sign, that this represents. I'm going to advance the chart. It's not set for, it might make some of you dizzy. Okay, so give me a sec. Let me unannotate, because it won't work if I don't. Annotations, undo, maybe, yeah. And basically watch what I'm going to show you. Watch Mars and the blue line he's going to form with planets. Okay, now, unfortunately, because I didn't set this for the 0 point Aries, you might get dizzy. So hold on to your hats, but you're going to see what I mean. We're going to move it forward. Well, I would like to move it forward, but it's not letting me. Aha, there we go. Let's do it. So we're going to go forward, and I want you to see what I'm talking about. Mars is known to be a conflict god. He causes lots of bad stuff, wars and arguments and anger and frustration and, whatever, difficulty. And he ends and cuts and severs. People often don't talk about that, but the guy likes to end, cut, and sever. Okay, so there's Juno at 10 degrees, and there's Mars at 10 degrees. Now, this is the asteroid of committed love, monogamy, marriage, agreements that we make, contracts and vows, so that kind of vibe. And she's also very perseverant and sticks with her agreements, doesn't break them, whereas her husband Jupiter is prone to philandering and breaking all of his marital vows all of the time. And funny enough, she's traveling with Jupiter. There's her husband right there. There's a kind of king and queen of Mount Olympus, Juno and Jupiter, also the vibe of sister brother, because they were actually sister brother, and also king and queen, and also spouses. Very complicated history. But, having Mars sextile them, something in our collective life looks like a contract agreement or war agreement, peace treaty. Don't forget, he talked with Venus. He had a powwow with Venus. Now, Venus is exalted in Pisces. We're on February the 2nd, just so you know, February the 2nd. Venus is in good stead, exalted in Pisces, doing her thing. And we see that there's some kind of maybe agreements being forged by a forward directed Mars. And there's that Aldebaran star right behind him. Well, the star doesn't move, just so you know. I mean, he's moved past the star, but just slightly. He's still with that star because he's moving so slowly. As well, as we move forward, so you're in your own life, it could be about making choices around agreements, about vows, about contracts, about monogamy, about a relationship in which you want to be in, which, by the way, would involve Queen and King energy. So this is like making it like your match, meeting your partner, your divine complement, or connecting and agreeing to be with that person, like solidifying that relationship now that Mars is moving forward. I can tell you a funny story. Well, I'll tell it when I get to the Aquarius rising, but Mars was all about me backtracking on a romance. Now that he's going direct, it's possible I will go forward on a romance. The same one or a new one? I don't know. So it's interesting. But Juno's involved around February. So if it's a love story for anybody, and we'll go to all signs, it definitely looks like there's solidification of the agreement that this is a thing. This is a thing. And then around February 11th and 12th, he goes into a powwow with Chiron. And that itself is very healing. Chiron is the wounded healer, but it's something that can be healed, because when you heal the wound, you find your gifts and your strengths and your superpowers. And Chiron at 13 degrees and Mars at 13, still in orb, almost of that star. But anyway, this is going to be a healing moment between these dates. Around, you probably feel it anywhere between the 8th and the 15th of the month, but it's most precise on the 11th and the 12th. And when he heals something, Chiron, he heals it for good. Like, this could be a pattern, a psychological wound, an emotional wound. It depends on which house it's falling. Like if I was doing this chart now for Cancer rising, because the chart just put me there, this would be a career wound that's being healed, you see? So, or some kind of, thing to do with one's career. And Mars is supporting that healing process. And then we move forward, and we're going to see on February 21st, he comes into contact with the planet Mercury, and there we have 21st. And why I'm showing this to you is because he's making flowing, happy, prosperous aspects, trines like this one, luck and flow, the sextile to Chiron, the sextile to Juno, and the nature of Venus, our sextiles are also opportune and good energy. And I don't even know I agree with modern astrologers say, oh, it's a trine, you have to seize the opportunity, it's a sextile, nothing will happen unless you make it happen. I disagree. I think that's BS. I think these are flow aspects. No one says, oh, look, it's a square, you got to harness it or nothing will happen. Give me a break. So I don't think that's true. So here we have this flow energy between Mars and Mercury. It is happening around the time of February 21st, February 19th, 20, 21, 22, but and what you have up there in this energy is you have some sort of sense of, let's get the exact, I just want to double check how long it takes to perfect. Okay. Yeah, so here we go. It's perfect on the 22nd, but you'll feel it like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 of February. It's going to vibe on there. So 2021 is the 21st and 22nd are pretty intense. This is flow of communication, flow of news, flow of information, flow of ideas through the axis of the corridor of Gemini and Aquarius. In your own chart, this will be something specially different. For me, this is about love flow for some reason, romance flow connected to self, or flow and good messages and information regarding my children. Because I'm an Aquarius rising, this makes it my first house, fifth house axis or angle. So we'll go through the all signs, and I'll talk about these three happy spots, Juno, Chiron, and Mercury, as Mars goes direct, and the overall theme of what it means to have fresh momentum with Mars finally moving direct and moving out of the sign of Gemini at the third week of March. Now, I'm going to say, I'm not going to do a video on this now, but he will square Neptune on March the 14th, just a week before he leaves. That's his third square to Neptune, because he's been doing this retrograde. So I'll do a separate video about that, because that's its own separate and huge story. All right. So now what we're going to do is do the all signs, and I'm going to stop the share. And I didn't want to push that button. It's getting dark here in Vancouver, and I just want to acknowledge that, because I keep trying to figure out my lighting, and you guys are laughing at me because my lighting is a biggest challenge until I get the lighting kit fully set up again. That kind of looks bad. What we're going to do is we're going to move to my new background so you can see Aries, Taurus and stuff, and you don't have to worry so much about trying to keep up. You'll be able to see where we are by just looking at my backdrop. Now, if you're in my live premiere, which I love to do, where I chat with all of my regulars, I mean, I'm always shouting them out, but it's the same crew that shows up a lot of the time, plus a lot of new people showing up now as well. And I'm not going to say them all again, but I can't help myself sometimes because they have such cool names like Misbehaving, or Stephen the Jupiterian, or Jupiter 8, the Feral Writer, what a great name. If you are listening to me in the live, don't forget, if when you hit my like button, my channel algorithm gets bumped and it goes further into the ethers, and it will grow my channel faster and help me. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't. That is a big deal in terms of algorithmic growth. I'm doing really well right now. I've had 1,600 new subscribers last month. My highest ever was a month before that, 2,000. But getting subscribers at this rate means that I'm actually excited and I want to keep making these videos, and it's really helping me generate revenue off the ads. Even though I push you to Patreon for ad-free content, it does help to make some ad revenue, and nobody gets rich on ad revenue at my level. I mean, I couldn't quit my day job, so to speak, but it helps to have ad revenue as well. So thank you for being in my world. All right, so let's keep going and talk about all signs. I'm going to do the thing I told you, which is put the new backdrops in. We're going to start with Aries because Aries is the way to go, and we're going to roll. This is jasmine green tea by organic jasmine green tea by Numi, and it is amazing. And I actually have to say, I'm not drinking coffee lately, so I need a daytime jasmine green tea boost. And it's a really good tea. So if you ever want organic jasmine green tea, try the Numi brand. And no, I am not on their payroll, but I think I need to approach these guys for sponsorship, or any of the tea companies. All right, I'm going to pause the video and then we're going to get started. I forgot to say something I wanted to say. Mercury is the lord of the house in which Mars is traveling. And I wanted to point out that Mercury not only is an aversion or cannot witness his own house as he's traveling through the sign of Capricorn, so he's kind of off-duty absentee landlord, but he also happens to be retrograde until the 18th of January. Therefore, even though Mars is going direct on the 12th, with the Lord of the House retrograde, it may not really feel that like, wow, momentum on like the 13th, 14th, 15th. It may need Mercury to move forward too. That may not be true though, because Mercury really can't see what's going on in his own home. So it may be two separate stories, but I thought I should mention that. Okay. So like I failed to account for that. I wasn't thinking about it. Okay. I'm going to now do the thing that I want to do, which is give you the Aries backdrop, and we'll get rolling. And by the way, I'm teaching classes. It's my Sky Reader class coming up in March and my Divine Timing Masterclass in February. I'll be sending out the wait list for both those classes, information on that soon, especially sending out information for the Divine Timing Masterclass. I've taught it twice already, and I keep refining it. It's 4 weeks and some advanced timing tools, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So if you already know astrology intermediate or advanced beginner and you want to learn some more timing tools, jump on in for that 4-week class. But you got to get in the wait list, and all the information's below. Alrighty, and sign up for my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, because you get like a discount code for the reading with me. And oh my God, I'm booked out till March, and I've got a wait list now for people trying to get in sooner. Never thought that was going to happen to me, but it did. So I really can't see you now until March. I'm so sorry. And I already have 5 people on a cancellation wait list. And when I mean cancellation, most of my clients just reschedule to a different time because something's come up. I don't think I even have a cancellation setting. Okay, so let's get going and talk about, Nancy, if you're time stamping, my sister, Aries. Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's roll. So for the Aries people in the world, and I am one of you, my sun and my moon are in Aries. So I totally jazz with you guys and what's going on here and how you might be feeling with this transit. This is Mars moving forward in your 3rd house. Now, your 3rd house happens to be a very active place for so many meanings, right? It's your trips and travel house. Let's talk just about something as simple as, have you wanted to take a trip or go on a journey, not necessarily to a far off land or super far off place? To be really clear, usually it's close to home travel, domestic travel. But if travel has been stuck for you, and you know since October 30th that hasn't been happening, or even just planning the trip, all systems go, new momentum happening here. Second of all, the second thing I would say that would happen here is that you could also pick up a new course or learning direction that you've been thinking about, but been indecisive. And now you're going to sign up for that course because it's a skills-based learning. I think for me, I've been like pondering taking this particular Vedic astrology course, and it's been back and forth. And I'll probably end up going yes, not no. Third house is your siblings. What things have been stalled, stuck, indecisive, backtracked, back-paced with a sibling, and sometimes your extended network of aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. These are all stories that have been unfolding for you with kind of a sense of stall or stuck or reconsideration or going backward on it ever since October 30th. But now on the 12th of January, as Mars stations to go direct, you begin to feel some momentum here, and it will build up rather slowly because he's moving slowly, but you'll feel it. And so don't despair, it will happen. And if you have anything that you want to teach, or you're involved in the online world, which I'm in both of those things, teaching and educating, or being educated, or writing, or even working on your social media stuff, especially like a website, are things that happen to involve the third house. Lastly, your third house is your neighborhood and your neighbors. You know, some people may have gone back into some conflict, old conflict with a neighbor, or, been embroiled in some kind of neighborly conflict that you had to go back and address during the retrograde, but now he's going forward, Mars, and you may be able to clear the way for better success with those neighborly conflicts, if that's happened for you. Secondly, if you have had any conflict with siblings, the same thing will apply moving forward outside of the conflict itself. And Mars in your fourth house, Mars in third house, Mars is definitely about travel, FYI, anyway, and it's a travel house, but it's also about like being physically active. And maybe there's things you need to do, or writing. Like, for example, as an Aries sun and moon, I'm thinking I'm going to write in this little coffee shop down the street called Wicked Cafe, but I've been waiting for Mars to go direct because I've been stalled in my writing projects. See, although I have made some progress before he went retrograde in my house of writing. And so keep that in mind, or you may decide to join a gym or get more athletic in your local neighborhood. And it's moving forward in the area that has been backtracked. So every time we go backward, it's like a spring coil, and then we jump forward, it feels really good. There's more momentum from having regressed or gone back. When we go forward, we get this kind of new momentum, and it can feel really good because we've kind of built up the anticipation of getting something off the ground. I'm going to join the gym down the street and work on my writing at the local cafe. So this is so exactly how it looks for me. And I may travel to see my sibling. I'm waiting for the United States to open the border to the unvaccinated people around the world. Yeah, the control group. The only country left in the world, except for maybe North Korea and China, who have closed their border to someone who hasn't had a vaccine from 2 years ago that doesn't work anymore. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you do know, guys, right? The vaccine does not prevent transmission or infection, only perhaps severity of illness. Only perhaps severity of illness. Alrighty. And then finally, sometimes in that third house, you see oracles, go consult the tarot reader, go and consult the medium or the spiritualist or something. It's kind of the house of the goddess. And now that there's forward momentum, you might have been researching who to see, going backwards and thinking about who's your person, trying to find resources in that area. And now there's a forward momentum, and you may consult an oracle of some kind, a diviner of some kind, as Mars goes direct. And that's true all the way through to March 25th. Now, it will sextile Juno and Aries February 2nd to 6th, and that's going to bring you the potential for consolidating an agreement, a relationship, a partnership of some sort, and sticking it into a form that is lasting, because Juno doesn't care about the frivolous. She's the one involved. She's about, if it's got to go the distance, or I'm not going to go there. She's sitting in the house of you. Juno is in Aries. So you are the one forming the agreements, forging the contract, and saying yes to some partnership. Okay, it could be a business partnership, it could be a relationship partnership, or something like that. If it is a partnership, because it's third house energies from Mars, it can involve people in your childhood that you've known since you were very young. Anything like, let's say, It's usually elementary school, high school ages. It also can involve partnerships with those aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, nieces, and nephews, or partnerships with somebody who you are involved with through the mechanism of travel, going on trips to visit each other or something like that for business or love. The next up on the menu is Chiron. Then Mars will connect with Chiron in a flowing sextile of opportunity on February 11th and the 12th. And Chiron is also in Aries. You are healing you are healing your body, you are healing yourself, you're healing your identity. This is an identity healing period that started in 2019 and ends in like 2026. You're doing this big interior work for yourself. And you, as you hold the Chironic element in your beingness, especially for the Aries rising, are now looking at, and you could become Chironic, you could become wise, guiding, mentoring energies for other people, but you're also healing a fundamental wound of how you look, how you feel about yourself, your identity. And so now Chiron is getting Mars love, right, as Mars goes direct. Now, Mars is looking over his shoulder at Chiron saying, follow me, we're going this way. And we're going in the direction of writing, communicating, traveling, engaging in teaching or learning. And Chiron says, okay, that feels good. My wound feels healed. And something like that is happening here. And then finally, and I can address the Chironic wound as a woman in menopause / 60 years old. Like I'll look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I know you guys think I don't look wrinkly, but I've got good lighting, sort of. And I've also got, makeup on and whatever. But, I do. I have wrinkles. Everyone does. But it's not that I obsess on it by any means. But the Chironic wound here, starting in 2019, is I started to notice, that I am not as young as I was. And so I'm dealing with just like body image adjustments, right? You get to my age, you get these little things here. They're called money bags, right? In Chinese face reading, which are good. They think if you have these little things here, this is your money bags, which they think is positive. So then finally, Mercury, I doth digress, Mercury will trine, Mars will trine Mercury, and that's also very positive, or Mercury will trine Mars. It's actually Mercury applying to Mars. So Mercury is the agent of the trine, and he's moving from the Aquarius zone towards Mars and making a contact with Mars. So you're going to have some good news or some good information or some good ideas coming through the 11th house that Mars wants to take action on in the 3rd. A new idea for a class you want to teach, a new idea for a connection to a sibling, friend, childhood friend, a new idea for a trip. But because it's got 11th house involvement, it involves groups of people, groups of belonging, groups of societies you belong to, clubs you belong to, or your eldest sibling is in the 11th house. It also involves things to do with your dreams, hopes, and wishes. Now, Mercury is an idea god, and you may come up with a new dream, and you hope, and you wish for your path ahead. And then Mars says, I'll execute it down here in the house of online world, websites, writing, traveling, communicating, marketing, merchandising, and selling can happen in the 3rd as well. And Mercury, lastly, is in a house that has to do with good spirit, which has to do with money, luck, and stuff like that. So, and Mercury does rule marketing and mercantile and merchandising. So it could be also a very nice idea or development coming through, or good news that provides some money luck for you. With that trine from Mercury on February 21st, 22nd, it's the most exact. Alrighty. Let's keep going. I don't want to give Aries more time than any other sign. Sometimes I accidentally do that. I'm really going to make sure that Pisces gets a full good time here with me, and I don't screw that up. So I'm going to change the backdrop again. I'm getting good at this. I've really just figured out how to do this kind of on the fly without having to toggle too much back and forth to do it. So Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. And this is an interesting time, because what we've got going on is this retrogradation of Mars has been in your 2nd house of possessions, money and earnings, resources, your safety and security, food, shelter, and water needs even. It's very basic. The 2nd house feeds the 1st. It's like, you can't survive without food, shelter, and water, a roof over your head. And then more on that, you can prosper. So survive and thrive belong to the 2nd house. This has been a challenging time because with retrograde Mars, you might have had money going backwards instead of forwards, like money retreating from you. And that's been October 30th until, January 12th. It also, Mars forward likes to spend. And he went retrograde starting October 30th. And you may have consciously chosen to curtail spending, All right. Mars in the second house is a self-starter. He's very much an independent moneymaker. A lot of people born with that will be entrepreneurial. And so with Mars moving backwards in your second house, any entrepreneurial self-starting things that you were engaged in could have gone backwards, it could have stalled out, could have been paralyzed, could have been stagnant. And now he's going forward again. So good news for anyone who's involved in their own business. Also anybody who has been spending too much money before he retrograded October 30th, now having calmed down the money spending, less outflow. Now he's reconsolidated and he's going forward. This is a house of speech. It involves your voice and you're talking, and you may have been really stuck in being able to communicate forcefully and aggressively something you want to communicate. Like you may have wanted to yell at or tell somebody off, but you can't or couldn't. And for some reason you had to bite your tongue. Now you're not going to bite your tongue anymore. If you're a Taurus, you're going to go full on, especially rising sign, secondarily, of course, sun and moon. You're going to be able to like speak strongly, you know, Yoda, speak strongly now. I can't do Yoda, but you can do it. You can have the force of your voice behind you, standing up for yourself. Okay. I know a Taurus who got stuck in a court thing and he had to stay mute, you know, more or less to let the lawyers deke it out. But there'll be a chance now to speak forcefully about something if that was a problem for anyone who's a Taurus. But the thing is that Mars going forward here is giving you momentum, drive, focus, willpower, ambition to succeed in something to do with earnings, money, and resources. And so who doesn't want that? I mean, seriously. Sometimes Mars eliminates things. So you might sell something. Sometimes we get better resources because we eliminate an asset that we don't need. You know, do we really need 5 cars? Do we really need that expensive sofa that we never use because it's uncomfortable? So all of a sudden your mind goes, Mars says January 12th to March 25th, let's sell it. Maybe we should just sell it. That could be the idea here. So if some Tauruses will dispossess themselves of things they don't need in order to amplify the resources and their personal wealth. And the other thing I'd say here is that this is the throat. And it's, you know, complications could happen to your throat and your mouth when Mars was retrograde, sore throats, thyroid problems, whatever. Now you got the momentum to fix it. And if you wanted to surgery on your face, laser surgery, dermabrasion, or surgery, knives, scalpels are Mars things. And it's a house of the face and he's going direct. So now between January 12th and March 25th, yes, you can do that. If you were trying to do it before then when he was retrograde, and hoping you didn't because you'd have to have it done again, something probably went wrong. It probably would have been stalled out and even booking that session with the cosmetologist or the surgeon or whatever else it was. So Taurus people also, Mars is inflammation, rashes, heat. And it's when he's retrograde, he's close to Earth and he's slow. So he's close to Earth and slow. And for some people who are Tauruses, it could have caused facial inflammation. Now, my daughter has been dealing with some adult acne, hormonal acne, and that really flared during Mars. To some degree, it flared during Mars's retrograde, but she also found a solution during his retrograde. She went on a medication starting during the beginning of the retrograde that began to calm it down. So that's interesting too. If you do have any facial rashy inflammation issues as a Taurus person, and now Mars is going direct after retrograding, if you are looking at resolutions and finding solutions during his retrograde, and then maybe this is now, it's behind you, right? I'm awfully hoping for my daughter, as on January 12th, Mars goes direct, the whole issue is behind her. All righty, and anything else? No, that's it on that part, but we're gonna talk about the Juno, Chiron, and Mercury bit. All right, bear with me, keep up with my pace, guys. Can't talk slow, I just can't talk slow. Juno, the goddess of committed marriage and love and monogamy in business and love partnerships, commitment, stick with it energy, right? That's the key, stick with it. Well, as a Taurus, Juno is in your 12th house. This is a very subtle place. It's kind of past lives and all of that. And so you may not understand what this is really about at the conscious level. Unless you're making commitments with foreigners from faraway lands for business, Juno in your 12th house could mean more like coming to terms with some of your own self-sabotage and undoing, but how you unravel commitments without knowing what you're doing. Like, because actually what's going on the 10th and the 11th February, sorry, not 10th and 11th, February 2nd to February 6th. I hope I said that right for Aries. I probably didn't. February 6th, 2nd to 6th at 10 and 11 degrees of the sign of, sorry, Aries, at the sign of Aries. So yeah, so it's happening at 10 or 11 degrees. It's happening on February 2nd to February 6th. And the idea here is that you're going to be forced to face something, to do, face, you know, he's in the house of your face, to do with how you sabotage commitment and committed relationships and agreements, or undo yourself, right? And then on February 11th and 12th, he meets with Chiron, the wounded healer, in the same place in the 12th house. There's some big healing going on. It even could be to do with addictions as well as self-sabotage. And maybe it's commitments to your anti-addiction strategy that are being healed. And you actually turn a corner around February 11th and 12th and realize you do not want to smoke that vape or hit that vape or do this alcohol excess or whatever that thing is. And you're going to shift that gear and heal that. Thank you to Mars, and take appropriate action, because Mars is also in the house of what you put in your mouth, the foods you ingest, the substances that go in your mouth. For a lot of Tauruses, there's going to be a healing here of some bad habit around food or things you smoke or drink. And that's turning a corner, a very profound corner, because Mars is spring coiled for action to help you move forward and move past that. And then later on February 21st, 22nd, epicenter, give or take a few days on either side, there's a trine, Mercury trining Mars at that time. So all these positive formations of flow and harmony and ease is what I love in your career and reputation house. You could get a promotion or a raise, because the second house is a money house. You could get an upgrade in your reputation. It's a positive development regarding purpose, career, reputation, money, okay? And good news on that front for you around the 22nd, 21st-ish of February. And you want to spread the wings out a little bit on a few days on either side. So I hope that's useful for you as a Taurus sun, moon, or rising sign. Again, most often it's most accurate for the rising sign, but not always. My daughter's facial inflammation fits this, and she's a Taurus sun. So keep in mind, you be the explorer of your own chart. You figure it out. You listen to your sun, listen to your moon, listen to your rising sign over time, and figure out which ones are truly for you the most accurate. I'm just trying to figure out how to create light here in Vancouver, Canada at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's not even winter. It's not even winter yet. I mean, it's not like the dead of winter. It's not even summer. Oh my God. Anyway, moving on. Like, seriously, why is it so dark here at this time of year? I'm almost tempted because it gives me a grainy picture. And I know some snarly troll told me, like, stop fixating. Oh, that's better on your lighting. And I'm like, screw you. I mean, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try to do it right. I just figured out if I turn my chair toward this angle, because that's where that window is. I should have started there. It's a lot better. Oh my God. Can't make this stuff up. Lori, just angle your chair a little different. All right. Can't wait to show you guys my new place. I'm moving on January the 13th, and I'm going to do my first two videos full on there with just the whole backdrop of where I'm going to be living. I love my new furnished rental. I'm so excited. Okay, let's keep going. Don't forget, if you're watching me in the live premiere, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. You know the drill. Hit the like button, subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed yet, when you hit the notification bell, you know when I go live, and there's contests I do. And the contests are free giveaways for people in the live chat during the actual premiere. And I've done 4 of those, I think, in the last month and a half, and I love doing them. So to me, that's fun. I love giving things away. Yeah, I'm going to get my hair cut. Anyway, back to you guys. Only for Taurus do I talk about my hair. I have to, because after COVID, I lost hair, and it's really thin for me right now. It just started falling out about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And I've heard other people say that has happened to them. So what the hell, it grows back, but it's a temporary loss. I'm not that vain that I care. Let's keep moving. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Most especially rising sign. All right, in your story, let's talk about this. First of all, how are you? Are you okay? Are you feeling okay? This is intense. I don't think you're going to ever experience Gemini rising, especially sun and moon secondarily, because if it's the sun, it's about your father figure purpose, and it's a moon, mother figure, or safety, security needs, and home. And if it's your rising sign, it's about you directly. If you have had this Gemini transit, well, first of all, you had it since August 20th, and then Then he retrograded. It's been intense for the Geminis. And then he retrograded on October 30th, and now he's going direct on January 12th. But to have Mars in your sign with, that proximity to your rising sign, especially Sun and Moon secondarily, is intense. And so you may have been in a condition here, first of all, of inflammation, because Mars is physical inflammation. Have you had challenges to your body? Have you been inflamed? Did you have rashes? Did you have heat? Did you have autoimmune things flare up on you? Some of you may have gone through some challenges with your health. The other thing is that you might have been like wanting to make bold decisions and take brash action and go for it, seize the day. Veni vidi vici, I came, I saw, I conquered. You wanted to do all of that, but you were thinking that way, and then Mars retrograded in October, and you had to reassess and retrack and evaluate some of the things you were wanting to jump forward on. Now, Mars gave you a pause button because you needed a pause button. Mars didn't give you a pause button just to screw you up. You needed to go deeper into your motivation. Think about motion, movement, and motive and motivation. They're all connected. And Mars is a part of that narrative. And so now you're looking more deeply, you have been since October 30th, I hope so, at your deeper motivations for what you're up to and what you want. So my sun has progressed into Gemini as well. So I'm all about looking at my motivations lately and going very deep. And so I registered my new website, Deep Code Astrology. And that's not going to be a website, it's going to be a podcast. And my motivation is to help people use astrology proactively to hack the system, to decode the sky and hack your life rather than just sitting around waiting for shit to happen. So a lot of Gemini people have gone into this deep quest for the truest motive, and now motion forward, locomotion, as Mars goes direct on January 12th with that sword of Aldebaran and the star behind it as you leap forward. And don't forget, we have the asteroids up there. I keep forgetting about them, but where are you a unique genius? Where do you have this special gift? Where are you able to do the labors to jump forward into something important? I don't know. We shall see. And, if you do want to look at it this way, think of yourself, because mutable signs like Gemini, you are sometimes very adaptable, flexible, but also fickle and indecisive sometimes, and not to be cliched about it. And now Mars is very decisive. He makes decisions. He takes the action. So you're going to be surprised at how action taking and decisive and clear you are from, roughly January 12th until the 25th of March. And you're going to love this new version of yourself. And it may stick with you for life because it was such a saturation of you and Mars over the 7 months behind you. So yeah, and think about your unique genius that you can best the gods with. Is there something that you got that is so special that the gods are in awe of you? But it will take the Herculean hard work to achieve what it is that this is about. So when we talk about the Herculean hard work and achieving and all of that, you need to remember that where the asteroids are sitting that we're talking about are sitting in your 11th house of good spirit. So this is a place of your hopes, dreams, and wishes. This is a place of how you visualize your forward trajectory. This is a place of how you want to implement things that are connected to larger groups of people or be involved with others who are, larger groups of belonging. Also the house of the eldest sibling. So that's kind of connected to this momentum as well. Oh, sorry. I apologize, and I'm not going to edit. Sorry, guys. It's your career house, Delete, delete, delete. I don't have patience to edit. Delete, 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 delete. Sorry, my brain went offline. It's about your career. Okay, but it's still, where do you have something that can best the gods? Because that's where that's where Arachne is sitting with Hercules. And what career objective, what purpose objective has a unique gift? It requires a lot of work that you're finally ready to go forward on. So when babbling about the 11th house of good spirit, and I apologize, that was for the Taurus people. So, and timing, Juno. What happens when Mars and Juno move into that sextile February 2nd to February 6th is that you may come into a contractual agreements or partnerships with other people that involve large group settings, or move you more fully in the direction of your goals and dreams and wishes, or allow you a great deal of influence and popularity in whatever it is you're up to. And February 11th and 12th or so, we get a connection from Chiron and Mars, and the same thing is going on, but now it's even deepening and healing even more. You're going to heal some kind of feeling like you're the outsider in a group of belonging, and now you're going to take the action to feel like the insider or to feel like you are part of the crew. And you may even find that if you've had a wound around a vision or goal or a dream in your life that you thought you wanted and it's been sort of feeling unattainable, Mars will not only help you attain it, but he'll give you the action plan and steps forward and the decision-making power to execute that effectively. And lastly, you have the trine from Mercury from your ninth house of God and foreign lands and travel and courts and court cases. Okay. And patriarchs and father figures and book publishing. So for some of you Gemini people, this could be about a contract for taking action to get a contract for something you want to publish, taking action to book a trip or take a trip. Okay, so don't forget, this is down the pipeline, right? February 21st, you may journey, you may be on the go, taking action to travel to a foreign shore or foreign land. And also it's good news, because Mercury is the patron protector of travelers, keeping them from banditos on the road and watching over travelers on pilgrimages to keep them safe. And, basically, isn't there a Catholic saint for that? Like Saint Anthony or something? He's that version of the traveler saint. And he's watching over your ninth house of foreign lands and travel while trining Mars moving through your Gemini first house. So this can really open up positive travel and learning. If you want to study something that's very important to your purpose in life and you feel connected to your deepest meaning of your life, Mercury can give you good news here around the 21st, like you get accepted at your ideal university or school, or something good like that is happening. This is an abundance house ruled by like the Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance in Indian astrology. And Mercury can be about money because he's a mercantile guy. So some good money news or international money news or just good money news, especially regarding courts or court cases, but also involved in themes of travel, money and travel news, money and court news coming through. And you are the one with the action plan. So if the news comes through around the 21st, 22nd of February, then you're going to execute an action plan afterward. Thanks, Gemini, for listening. I appreciate you guys a lot. And a lot of my good friends, my ex-husband, my best friend who passed away, unfortunately, were Gemini. So I have Gemini people in my life. Hit the like button in the premiere, please. Oh my God, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. I've been going through the ringer, guys. I can't wait till Saturn leaves my first house. I just overcame another health challenge recently. My sister Nancy says your immune system gets compromised after COVID. I'll go with that because I'm like, holy man, that was intense. Now, another health challenge. Oh my God. All right, moving onward. Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign people. See, I talk to Cancers like this because they're carrying, nurturing, protective, motherly energies. Well, first of all, Mars is retrograding from October 30th to January 12th in your 12th house. And that means it's been a very subtle process. This is you going more deeply into your dreams at night and spiritual life, maybe even connecting to messages and messengers from beyond this world, especially being able to pare away and cut away and release and get rid of and snip any kind of sabotaging self-undoing habits and patterns or addictions or thought forms that have not been for your highest good. And some of your karma has been snipped away as well. Negative karma, things you don't need, bad patterns that don't work, or hang-ups. And Mars has been snipping away there since August 20th, and he continues his journey of snipping until the 25th of March. But this retrograde may have had you go a little bit deeper and really assess how you may be a self-sabotager or an undoer in some way. And you can generate revenue here from foreign shores and lands through PayPal and Stripe. Don't even ask me why. And so with Mars going retrograde, you may have slowed down since October 30th a little in your revenue generation, or you may have gone back and looked at your price structure or other things about how you generate revenue and done some tinkering with it. Now he's going forward, all systems go. You're going to bound out like spring coiled action and build new momentum over the next 3 months around generating revenue from foreign lands and shores. That's why I say PayPal, Stripe, because you can do revenue around the world, right, with this kind of payment processor system, whether you're selling a service or a product. And I really also would say, you know, the idea of those asteroids at the top of the sky, which I didn't talk about for all signs, I apologize, but what the heck. Those asteroids, like, where are you uniquely positioned with a special genius that could best the gods, but it takes her Herculean effort to get that thing to work. It's the ninth house where this is for you. It's a house of God, the house of Dharma, the house of wisdom, the house of teaching, the house of traveling, the house of courts and book publishing. Now, technically, I mean, we're looking at a 12th house, 9th house axis. It's often a learning teaching axis. So you may also be looking to learn something that's uniquely suited to you, and you have the perfect skills naturally that you can best the gods in a certain field of endeavor. And now you have to do the Herculean task of learning. So if I look at my Cancer rising sister, Nancy, who's a healer, I think she may take a course that's like a very intense mentorship with one of the primary teachers that she's worked with as a healer. So that would be a prime example of what kind of Herculean effort needs to be taken to weave something that bests the gods, because you have a natural talent. Now, the other thing is that we have all those energies of the Juno, Chiron, and Mercury story unfolding in the wake of the forward momentum. So Juno on February 2nd to 6th is lovely. There's that gorgeous sextile between Mars and the goddess of commitment in the house of career. This can look like partnering in your career with somebody else. This looks like, or receiving some kind of blessing from somebody, like a new contract or new agreement, a new arrangement in your career path and purpose path from that Juno intersection. Then a little later on February 11th and 12th, we follow through with Chiron, the wounded healer. Where have you felt, first of all, for a healer like my sister Nancy, Chiron there is fantastic. She started being a professional healer ever since Chiron entered her 10th house in 2019, really. So, you know, there's the literal meaning of being a healer up here. But if you're not a healer, it just means you're healing something in your purpose, career, reputation zone with the support of Mars. But it's at a deep psychological level, maybe, or spiritual level, because of Mars being still in that 12th house. And lastly, you have Mercury forming a trine from your 8th house of chunky money to Mars in your 12th house. And that's happening on the 21st and 22nd of February. It could be definitely good news for your finances, especially regarding a chunk of money coming to you all at once, or you may managing to level up your finances in some way connected to things you've been doing in the back room, secret negotiations and deals. You may also be able to look at this as a time in which you're able to, well, Mercury is kind of like in the 8th house, can bring like passive revenue, like residual income, or capitalizing on an investment and taking money off the table because now it's time to receive the reward. But it's more like a chunk of money, not earnings money. So it's a good money news coming. And it could just be good money news. Your accountant or your tax accountant says, oh my God, you weigh way too much. We're going to have to rebate you next year or whatever. So there's all kinds of good money news. It's because taxes belong to the 8th house. Mortgages, loans, and credit card debt. Like you can chunk down your credit card debt. You can pay off your mortgage, you know, something good happening for a lot of Cancer rising, especially Sun and Moon secondarily in the money story with Mars momentum and action, February 21st and 2nd. Thank you for listening, Cancers, and don't forget in the live thingy with me, hit my like button, subscribe to my channel, and do the drill. I really do appreciate that. Moving to the next sign, which is Leo. Well, I'm trying to get it to move, but it won't. Why? Oh, I am in Leo. Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Okay, Leo. First of all, in your little big, bold, brave, courageous, big-hearted, flamboyant world with good hair. Every Leo rising has great hair, or they focus on their hair. I tell you, it's called the mane. What's going on here is simple, in my humble opinion. Mars is moving forward in a house of good spirit. It's a good house. It's a lucky house. It's a positive house. It's like, even if Mars is a malefic, I don't know how much damage you can do in the 11th house. All right, so he's been retrograding in your 11th house since October 30th, and now he's going forward. If you had to snip away at some of your ambitious goals and dreams for your life, that's fine. Mars would have cut out the goals and dreams and ambitions and ideas of your future that weren't really any good anyway. So get rid of the detritus and move to the what you need and what's really positive for you. And that's to be said as, you know, the tough love strategy that Mars is quite capable of. Second of all, You may have cut away from some friendships or some groups of belonging. You may have divested yourself of those groups during the retrograde, or gone back to some old groups and friendships that you had neglected as you retrenched and made some new connections, old connections, and refreshed them. And there's that. And then lastly, this is the eldest sibling, and you may have gone back in the retrograde and reconnected with an older sibling, the eldest one, if that's, you have one and you're not the eldest, that you needed to make a new connection or bond with. But mostly I think you've been waiting to leap forward starting January 12th to March 25th regarding some great gains from your career, which is another meaning of the 11th. You have a career, it's your Taurus 10th house, but you've made gains, but are they great enough? You've made lots more gains in your career and I mean money gains, I mean earnings gains, I mean resources and reputation gains since August 20th. Tell me it's not true as Mars started to move forward. All right, into that 7-month stay in your 11th house of great gains from your career. However, then he went backwards on October 30th, mulled it all over, and now he's going forward. And now it's just boom, new momentum, new gains, higher gains, better than before, spring coiled action, building on the intensity of his time out, October 30th to January 12th. It's like really deep volcanic energy under the surface that is ready to explode in your behalf, starting after the 12th of January. And your financial gain, your reputation gains are about to soar in your career. Juno, and then the asteroids of, you got something that can best the gods, but it takes Herculean effort. Those asteroids are in your 8th house. This is inheritance money, money from the banks, loans, mortgages, your partner, business and love partners, money you share. It's kind of an interesting place for these asteroids. What Herculean effort do you need to make in terms of shared resources with others, or to pay off a credit card debt, or to source your finances from somebody else's money, like leveraging money with a business loan, bank loan, or something like that. A lot of Leos are looking at that. If you've had any stress with finances and a partnership, whether it's marriage or business, I think Mars going direct is going to alleviate that. But he's also pointing to, it takes effort, and you need to look at some kind of Arachne mythos, like where are you uniquely positioned with a great gift that you can leverage your own money, or the money that's available to leverage in that world. Well, if you invested in the stock market, something could pop here. Something that you've invested in, an altcoin or something like that, I don't know, Bitcoin, could be popping because of what I'm seeing here. The Hercules part means it was a Herculean task not to sell it when it tanked. I don't know, but there's that as well. And finally, and if there's a friendship that you've been mulling over, like, do I want to keep this friendship or not? Then when Mars goes direct, you'll cut that person in or out. It's a final say, yes or no. Okay, and then Juno, the goddess of partnership agreements and monogamy and marriage, is going to be forming a sextile on the early February 2nd to 6th time period, making you available, especially like, for example, if you are thinking of wanting to commit to a trip abroad, wanting to commit to a relationship with a friend, wanting to commit to a solid love relationship with a friend, taking the friends to the next level, to something else. For a single Leo, this could happen. Certainly with Juno in the 9th house, it's a house of God and temples and spiritual faith, and you might be partnering with somebody regarding faith and belief, but more likely it's about travel and commitment, connection. So Mars loves to travel, traveling with a group of friends, traveling with more than one person, anyway, to a foreign land in February, maybe on the books for you. But then on February 11th and 12th, there's a chironic wound that's being healed. This is about your faith, Leo, your faith in God, your faith in the universe, your faith in how the universe is benevolent or not. It's what you believe about life. And then that's being healed as well in a very beautiful way by that Mars Chiron on the February 11th timeframe. And it may give you a new life vision because this healing is deep. Some of you may go off and learn from a shaman or study from a spiritual teacher in February because of this kind of action. And lastly, Mercury will trine Mars on February 21st and 22nd, and Mercury is the god of information, news, and messages, and it's in the house of your significant other. This is your marriage partner or your business partner, or sometimes it's your clients, or, you know, the people you serve. Good news coming out of that part of the sky, exciting good news coming out of that part of the sky. It's a trine. So your partner, business, and love has some really good news for you, or you, in reaching out to your audience and marketplace, are killing it with some really great gains. So if you're the type of person who sells and markets things, and Mercury, the marketing god himself, trines the house of great gains in your career, you just hit the jackpot on some kind of thing you're selling, or you know, a service or product, or some kind of thing you're sharing with a larger audience or marketplace for your career path. So that's exciting. I hope to hear what happens. Let me know. I mean, in the comments, you know, if you think to come back, I really want to know what that last salvo is like with that Mars action and that Gemini, that Mercury action in your 7th. Just know it's opportunity energy because it's a trine. You could also get an email, a phone call, or text with somebody outside of you, someone else coming at you with an opportunity to make some great gains in your career. So pay attention to that time frame on the 22nd of February or so. I can't believe I'm still here. So the DOG needs to go out, and unfortunately he's not feeling well. He's got congestive heart failure. He's 15, and his medication is making him sick, and because he may have liver failure as well. And I was up 3 times in the night 2 nights ago to take him out for a number 2, a poo, and then 1 time last night, and then he got up in another time in the night and had an accident in the house. And so, this is not my dog. This is my girlfriend's dog, and she's away in Hawaii. And I'm even thinking I will be calling the vet myself on Monday and getting him in early for a checkup about, I don't think he can tolerate the heart meds, you know, and certainly at 15, it's probably just, you know, getting time for him to leave, quality of life over quantity of life. But anyway, let's keep going, and hopefully I don't have to take Milo out for a walk. And I do love dogs, but I don't think I want one again. I think a cat would be just fine. You know why? Because it's such a commitment, right? I mean, like, especially if you get a puppy, it's like I know, because I just did that, and I've had dogs in my life, and my last dog passed in 2016. She was a beautiful, beautiful dog. Anyway, I'm babbling. But she had early cancer diagnosis at age 6 she was a lab. She was a shepherd, a beautiful shepherd, a German shepherd. And anyway, I don't think I want another one. Let's keep going. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. And that's my daughter, and that's my friend who has a dog, another Virgo rising. And my son is a Virgo sun. I seem to attract the Virgos in the world, which is quite the irony, because my ascendant in Aquarius is an aversion to the Virgo Aquarius, which makes us not really good compatible roommates. All right. So Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So first of all, Mars has been in your 10th house since August 20th and leaves on March the 25th. And he's been retrograding in that part of your sky, your career and reputation 10th house, since October 30th. Now, for you, this may have been in August, some feeling of momentum and forward motion that's exciting in your sense of purpose or visible career. Yes, you're retired. Then what did the world see you do? Do you play golf? Is that your career? Do you have a thing you do on the side? Or you're a student? Your career is to be a student. All right. But it's also your workspace. If you have, like, my daughter works in a gym, right? You know, it's a place you work if it's somewhat in alignment with your values. It's not you're flipping pancakes at McDonald's, that's your 6th house. But my daughter aspires to be a fitness person. I think maybe the psychology of fitness, for all I know. And so it's kind of a career space for her too. Now, Mars here can also mean conflict in the workplace, and you may have been in conflict with somebody in your workspace, and it may have been intense, and it may have been ongoing, like, you know, all the way since August. And then when Mars retrograded October 30th, maybe you went back and that conflict went underground. Instead of being overt, it kind of hid itself, or you went back to address what this conflict in the workspace, career space is with some person in that part of your life. I mean, a colleague, a boss, whatever. Mars rules passion. There could be passion in the workplace, you know, that kind of thing. You could be very passionate, but then you pull back a bit on your passion, October 30th to January 12th for some reason. You are less enchanted, inspired, and passionate about the career and work story. Mars definitely makes you very bold in your actions here as well, but not during the retrograde. And so let's keep going then. what happens when he's in a relationship called a square to the asteroid for Herculean effort and the asteroid for the special gifts you have that best the gods. Well, this is your marriage house. Seventh house is where this Piscean twosome sit. And so has this been a Herculean effort to square away things that are going on in your workspace versus your career and workspace? It's squaring the marriage space. So too much work, not enough time for your partner, conflict in your workplace spilling over to time with your marriage partner, sometimes business partner. These kinds of things were going on for some Virgos. And you may even had problems with your partner because they're going through a Herculean time, a great effort, and you're on the sidelines. You know, Mars is up there doing the career thing and they're over there doing their Herculean efforts in their own lives. And you don't have time for them maybe, or you're not interested, or you're impatient with their own Herculean efforts in their own story. So there's tension between marriage and career houses is what I'm saying. And that's been ongoing since August 20th last year. Now, that's coming to an end anyway on March the 25th, so don't fret not. And Mars will go direct on January 12th with that sort of Archangel Michael, fixed star Aldebaran energy. And so you're like leaping forward boldly. Now, Mars is about ending and severing. You may quit your career path, or you may change your job, or someone in your workplace may get fired or leave. And they're getting fired or leaving. It feels good to you. You're happy with that. Something about the workplace is changing. Mars is a change god, and it's changing dramatically and excitingly and boldly. And there's a new momentum until March 25th as Mars goes direct in your career space. And so now all of a sudden things are looking good here, and your purpose and career stuff is moving forward. Now, if you have to clear your reputation, because this is your reputation, Mars is giving you the bold, forthright speech, Gemini, to clear your reputation in a work or career space. And you will do it with great effectiveness. Now, right around February 2nd to 6th, Juno will be in a sextile, a flowing aspect pattern to Mars from your 8th house. This is agreements about money with your spouse, with your business partner, with other people. What kind of contractual monetary positive agreements are being forged February 2nd to 6th around money and shared resources with another. This can also be a contractual thing where you sign a loan document or agreements around money that is banking money or possessions like that. It's inheritance money. And sometimes maybe you could be Juno contracts and agreements around inheritance money, February 2nd to 6th. But if so, it's all connected again to your career and reputation in some way. And then Chiron will be in a sextile relationship to Mars on the 11th and 12th of February. And that is an energy that really can open up a healing around money wounds for you, especially deep ones to do with your family of origin. Like if there was poverty consciousness or stress in the family growing up around money, and you were always hearing negative money messages or something like that, this is a healing time for you where you let those things go. Trust me, you'll see what I mean. And then later on, Mercury will trine Mars, and that's going to happen on the 21st, 22nd. And that's going to be from your 6th house of the work routines and health routines, and your 10th house where you have that career and reputation thing going. For a lot of you, this is definitely an improvement in your health as well. If you've had any health challenges, especially any health challenges regarding your anything that's inflammatory, right? Anything that's inflaming the body. But nonetheless, Mercury brings you good news and good information regarding health, and he sends the beam of it up to Mars in your career and reputation space. So health, career, reputation, positivity, the 22nd or 21st of the month. Certainly Mercury here could bring a raise or a promotion boldly coming forward, or a new job, or a new position in work. This is very job-like. Mercury's in the jobs house. So maybe a new job or new position within your current place of employment. You've got Saturn in your 6th house, finally leaving, by the way, March 7th, and the end of a beleaguered health, 2.5, 3 years for a lot of Virgos. They having intermittent health challenges they've never had. My Virgo rising girlfriend had this weird health challenge happen to her a few months ago, and she hasn't never had health problems. She's so healthy. So, this is coming to an end. Karmic health challenges are ending, but also Mercury's up leveling the goodness here. So good resolutions as well, good information and news in order to resolve challenges to your health, also raises and promotions, upgrades, or new job for some of you Virgo people at the end of this time. If you're already retired, you don't have a job, or the words job and career aren't relevant to you, I'd say you're still dealing with that kind of stuff. You're still dealing with, to whatever degree you have some action in your life that everyone in the world sees. Like, I'm retired, but I go to the soup kitchen every week, then something's changing in that area of your life. All right, I'm a stay-at-home mom, then something's changing positively in that area of your life, thanks to Mercury, because you're doing service in the sixth house, right? It's a house of how we operate as seva, or service to the greater good, and hopefully not slavery, drudgery, and duty, but destiny and service, right? Okay, hopefully that's useful for you guys. I hope I didn't forget anything, feeling like I might have. And moving off to the next sign. Hang on, I'm going to pause and take the DOG out for a walk. It's looking at me and I'm worried about accidents. So you don't even know that I'm gone, but let's get cued for the next sign, which will be Libra, and I'll be right back. And don't forget to hit my like button and subscribe and do all of the things that I've asked you to do. Please, pretty please. Just let me pause. I'll be right back. All right, Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign people. Don't forget, I always tell you, I think your rising sign will give you the most accuracy. Sun sign probably next, but you be you and you figure it out yourself. Don't trust me. Don't argue with me either, but like, check it out. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. First of all, in your story, Mars has been going into a long stay in your ninth house ever since August 20th through to March 25th this year, and last year to this year. And the retrograde started October 30th and it's ending on January 12th. And it feels to you like you're going to get a new boost of momentum regarding book publishing, foreign lands and travel, third marriages, patriarchal and male figures, including father and father figures. New momentum in purpose, in dharma, and feeling aligned with your true self. New momentum in terms of a faith about God and the universe and the way things work. And new momentum, if necessary, in legal and court matters. And so finally, some of these things are going forward, spring loaded from the retrograde of just behind us. You do have a fixed star, Aldebaran, giving you a warrior-like success. Certainly when Mars is here, this is a successful outcome in court matters. He's your keen lawyer battling on your behalf to win the day. Mars wants to win. And if you wanted to get a visa or travel, and there's been stalls on travel to foreign lands, or things have been held up there, this moves forward, including, of course, immigration and stuff like that, those kinds of visas as well. Now things are going to move forward for you, and things will move forward quickly, but building more fast as things go onwards towards February, and things get heated up again as Mars gets some momentum into the sky. There is these asteroids that I talked about earlier, Arachne, the special gift you have that bests the gods, and also Herculean effort in order to achieve that success. And when this happens to be in your work house, so your health and work routines, basically, of your sixth house, sometimes leases and tenancies and pets are involved as well. But Mars moving forward in the ninth house could be leasing a property in a foreign land, renting a property in a foreign land, forward momentum around work in foreign shores, forward leaping energy around the Herculean task you need to take to eliminate debt, regarding some kind of debt relief, but connected to forward momentum in the court or foreign lands and book publishing area. The workaday routines of your daily life. I sit in front of a mic with a Zoom and look for some lighting and talk to you here, or I get on with my clients. Like this morning, my clients on Zoom, my 2 clients. Well, I can't do more than 2 a day, but whatever. What happens is your work routines are going to require some Herculean efforts here, but you've got momentum because of Mars to achieve results in your life that are positive because of this Herculean effort and new momentum. Ninth house in the work environment can be power behind the power, working in like bureaucracies, or working behind the scenes with people who are in power, like just behind the CEO or just 1 or 2 down from. Like a vice president's house would be the ninth house to me, and the president's in the 10th. So if that's a part of your career path, you're making more momentum there as well. Third marriages as well, using one of the 2 Vedic astrology systems to determine first, second, and third marriage. Okay, so don't correct me. I'm using the system I think is the more accurate one. If you want the lecture on what it is, I'll give it to you another time. And then finally, with Mars moving direct, he's going to make this contact with the asteroids. Well, am I done with that main story? Yeah. He's going to make contact with the asteroids Juno Chiron, and Mercury in that order. And this is going to be 3 positive contacts as he moves forward, which is why I'm so excited about this Mars retrograde, because he's doing good things as soon as he gets going. February 2nd to 6th, he's going to sextile or line up in a positive flowing relationship with the goddess of commitment and partnerships and contracts and agreements in the house of contracts, partnerships, and agreements. Juno's in your 7th house. This can definitely be sticking the landing on a book contract, a publishing deal, or sticking the landing on contracts and agreements around court matters and resolving in your favor, really succeeding with agreements with significant others, clients, business partners, and marriage type love partners. Mars does love passion and he loves to travel. And if you're a single Libra, who knows, maybe you're going to meet somebody in a foreign land and be committing to them relatively quickly. But for the most part, I think this is if you're in an existing love relationship. I mean, Jupiter coming into Aries as well, in Aries is really exciting. I mean, there's something really good going on here about your marriage partnership. So keep in mind that it could look like a real sweet time where you and your love partner, your marriage committed love partner as a Libra, sun, moon, or rising are going to travel off to a foreign place together. And it's going to really help your relationship. That's one example. Or you could even decide to legally get married or to propose, or one of you proposes to get married and the other accepts. And this is all happening in the sky around February 2nd to 6th. And then on February 11th to the 12th, there's a healing of your chironic wound, Libras, about your worthiness to be in a relationship, or you're meeting a shaman, guide, or mentor. As Chiron, Mars is definitely looking like very much like I'm off to see the shaman in Peru, or I'm off to see the guide, guru, energy person, or someone new steps into your life who plays that role. And but on the other hand, you could heal a sort of a wound about your worthiness to be in a relationship, or a wound within an existing relationship can be begun to be permanently healed here as Mars goes forward and connects with Chiron. And this healing energy is February 11th and 12th, and even healing any legal problems you've had or contractual agreements that have gone awry. And then Mercury will trine a flow of luck and opportunity, form a trine to Mars. And the Mercury trine is from the house of spirit, good luck, good fortune. Your 5th house is a money luck house for one thing, but it's also a romance house. It's also a children's house. So good things going on with children, grandchildren, your 9th house, travel to foreign lands for romance and leisure, connecting to greater inspiration and the muse and your deepest purpose. These are the ways this could happen for you around February 22, 23, 21, 22, 23, and also good news coming from a lover or a child. Could be about them, not you. Like they could be announcing, if you're an adult, if you have adult children, they're announcing that one of them is pregnant, because Mars is in the house of grandchildren for you. And then the children house has got news. Mercury, the messenger, some news from a lover, news from a child. If you're an entrepreneur, this is your independent business enterprise. You could go international. You could have some big success. You could have some success teaching something. You want to make some changes if that's the case, because Mars is about going forward in a new direction. And so new directions with teaching, new directions with books and book publishing, new directions with that kind of stuff. Mercury here can be somewhat nice for winning some money. So don't hesitate to maybe play a game of chance or something around the 21st and 22nd, because maybe some of you Libras, sun, moon, and rising can win money, which who doesn't want to do that? Because the 9th house where Mars is a Lakshmi wealth house and a luck house, and so is the 5th house. And so there's luck upon luck here, and marketing, merchandising, and mercantile and moolah, currencies and stuff could be mercurial. So you could have some money success coming through on the 21st, 22nd of the month for you. Good luck with that, you Libra people, and let's change the sign. Scorpio, you're going to have a dark me in a minute. It's getting pitch black here. All right, so get ready, get set, go. You got this movement of Mars, your Lord, right? Lord of your sign. This is why it's so important, just like the Aries. This is your guy. He's going forward. He's been stuck in retrogradation since the 30th of the month. You've been resetting, backtracking over some old ground, going backwards instead of forwards, but it's all for the good. And that going backward energy has to do a lot with your shared resources with a spouse or partner, business or love, or money that has to do with your inheritances, bank loans and mortgages, even taxes. Now, Mars here is a god of elimination, and he's definitely been working to eliminate problems in your finances as best he can. starting back in August 20th, and will continue to do that best he can version of himself in your money, chunky money house all the way through till the March 25th point. But going backwards over old ground here, it could have been really having some really important discussions with business partners or marriage partner type partners around shared resources. And now, honestly, not to worry you, but a lot of times Mars here can be about dividing assets, but with a spouse or marriage partner or someone you live with, as you look at the potentially separating from each other, and you're separating out your assets, right? And since Mars stalled out on the 30th of October, there may have been a real quality of really backtracking on that plan or looking a second time at it. Same with mortgages, approaching a mortgage lender, mortgage broker, and then backtracking around October 30th to wait it out, maybe not getting what you want in terms of a rate, or things to do with investments as well, backtracking, especially, going down the tubes in the finances of your stock investments when Mars retrograded here. Sorry about that, October 30th. Through to January 12th. Now, Mars could bring new momentum in your investments, in your stock investments, and you're getting that mortgage or getting that solution to your tax problem, or finally you and your partner share the resources equally or divide them equally, or simply move forward in a positive way around how money is spent between the two of you. So there's all of that going on, but we want to know that the sword of Archangel Michael and the fixed star Aldebaran is giving you extra power and strength here, and that's what I like about it. And then Mars will, square those two cool Leo asteroids, Arachne and Hercules. So what special gift and talent do you have? It's Arachne in the fifth house of your special gifts and talents, especially creative and artistic. And what is the Herculean effort you need to do to make that thing work? And Mars is saying, if you really work on that special gift and talent and take the Herculean effort to make it happen, including running your own business, by the way, fifth house energies, you're going to benefit financially, and he'll help you up level your money as a result. This is the house of your children, and Mars is squaring that house with those asteroids. And so this may also be monetary and children related issues that are being resolved and worked on as Mars moves direct. And maybe the expenses of your children are overwhelming and you need to clear out away from them and move into your own money story, away from, say, supporting your children or something like that. Certainly, if you have a lover and you're a lover and you have been arguing over money, I wouldn't be surprised with this situation. And then this could be some forward momentum, but it's going to take Herculean effort, Hercules, to get this to work. Herculean effort, however you say it. And then we have the idea here that it's because Mars is only here till March 25th to fortify your money story, that there's potentially an inheritance narrative going on here. And I'm going to jump ahead for you and move at a chronology. But Mercury, the messenger in the house of wealth from the family of origin, land and property and legacy wealth, or so just something to do with your home and money with your home, is going to form that trine to Mars in the inheritance house, but it's also the mortgage house. So for some of you, Scorpios, there's some kind of property, home, mortgage, real estate, land, money situation positively forming for you around the 21st or 2nd of February. But for some of you, it could also involve receiving money from an inheritance or receiving money from a property or something like that. To backtrack it a little bit though, let's go back to February 2nd and February 6th, to that time frame, because that's when the goddess of contracts and agreements, Juno, in the house of tenancies and pets and debts, karmic and real, will form a flow to Mars in the house of chunky money. So for some of you, you're going to get a lease and it's going to be the ideal price and you can't believe your luck, or you're going to sell your place or buy a new home or get a mortgage. These are all like those sorts of stories. Get a new pet, agreement with the breeder, you got the pet finally, or get a new job, because getting jobs are the 6th house. Juno is agreements and contracts and vows, and a vow is just, I agree to take this job and I promise to be a good employee. So some of you Scorpio risings are looking at maybe a job opening coming up for you early in the month, February 2nd to 6th as well. And that looks exciting because Jupiter's there bringing luck and opportunity anyway in the world of jobs. So why not? And something like job up levels, new agreements, contracts for greater rank or position in your job. These are all possible. And then finally, you're going to heal something really to do with your health, probably because it's Chiron, the healer, in the house of health challenges, but also with healing things to do with your work and the routines that you have in place for the daily work grind, but also for your health. And so you're going to be, you could even bring a guide or a mentor or a healer into your life who's helping you develop those things, skills and stuff for better health and work routines. That's February 11th to the 12th. And Mars is participating from the quiet backroom deal house of the 8th. So not sure how he's going to sync up with this, but it could look like somebody behind the scenes working on your behalf to wrangle some positive healing in your job and health situations, but it also involves money. So the healing might be, I don't make enough money to join a club to work out. I don't make enough money to do X, Y, and Z, take any time off. And that can be a turning point in that kind of narrative. Then there's a trine from, oh, I did the trine from Mercury. So I kind of sped through you, I think. I think I went too fast. So what else can I tell you? I will give you a teaser that Venus will enter into your 6th house of dating. Just for you Scorpios, if you're single and you're looking for love in all the right places, she'll be there sometime around, when does she move into that part of your sky? I'm going to double check, but it's like the 3rd week of February. And that's going to open up a dating portal for you. And you could possibly, around the 19th of February, be in the dating action. And the reason I'm only talking about that is because some of this energy of the 6th house activation with Chiron is about healing the wound around, I don't know, something to do with dating and understanding that dating can lead to commitment because Juno is also participating. So it's not like you have to get stuck in this kind of dating is one thing and commitment is another. And, there's something new, fresh happening for a Scorpio who happens to be single in this part of the sky. And any kind of information or news around that 21st, 22nd of February that could come from the home or about the home is going to lead to financial gain. And I don't want to say that it's an inheritance for sure, because some of you don't want an inheritance because it means somebody passes away. But I can't pretend that I don't see that. Right? I'm a real astrologer, not a pretend love and light astrologer. So, but because it's a trine from Mercury to Mars, it may actually be something you expected or knew about anyway. It's just not a shocking event or anything like that. Okay, just keeping that in mind for some Scorpio, some legacy wealth could be in the pipeline. And Mars moving through your 8th house every 2 years, for about 6 weeks can always bring an inheritance, because it's severing, cutting money ties, and sometimes it just looks like an inheritance story. And but this time it's been a long time, right? August 20th. So anyway, to March 25th. So it's a long transit, and it does involve money, and it can involve legacy wealth. So let's see what happens for you. And lastly, Saturn on March the 7th does leave your 4th house of homeland and real estate property. And this has been a hard time. You probably had frustration around buying or selling real estate or prospering in your home and feeling good in your home. And maybe your home felt like a hardship and it felt isolating, but that's leaving on March the 7th anyway. So it's all turning around. Things are moving forward in this part of your sky. Thank you, Mars, as well, for the support. Okay, let's keep going. All right. I think my videos are longer because it takes me longer to queue up the little backdrops. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. So basically, I just did you. That's what happens when you're recording at the end of the day. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. So fiery Sag, adventurers of the world, people with a faith, hope, and optimism quotient above the average person. How's that for your description? And I just want to cue up my back end of my chart because I advanced it for the other sign. So I remind myself of what the hell's going on in the sky when I tell you all about you. All right, Sagittarius. Basically, this energy of Mars retrograding has been in your marriage house, or your significant other, or your business partners, or your audience, clients, people you interact with, other people. And honestly, it's not easy. I want to ask every Sag I know, especially Sag rising, but Sun and Moon might have felt it too. Who's the problem child? Is it you or your partner? Who's arguing with you? What's the big fight about? How come you guys are tangoing in sword-like ways? It can also mean that your partner is going through a hard time or has been going through a hard time, and you're on the bystander side, on the other side, looking at them go through their own internal or external conflict, and you're not the one that's causing it, and they're not the one that's causing it at you. But let's be serious. I mean, Mars has got a sword, and he's opposing you, and he's on the other side of you. And if you're a rising sign Sag, anywhere around 8 degrees, then this has really been intense, and there's something going on now with your partner, and it may be directed at you verbally, argumentatively, conflictually, energy. Mars on the descendant, if your descendant's around 8 degrees, can exit a relationship. So some of you in longer term relationships may have a closure on that relationship sometime as Mars goes direct, January 12th to March 25th. Can't pretend it's not there. Your partner may cut out on you, or you may cut out on them. But anyway, it's just in the sky, Sagittarius. So, I'm just telling you how I see it. Sometimes this happens, Mars is in the setting place on the descendant, and that can exit stage left, a relationship that's committed and no longer will be there, okay? Especially given the Mars moves into the house of spousal and mutual resources right after that, and that's the time which you guys would divide the assets, and that's going to happen after March 25th, add 6 weeks. So not every Sag will have this happen, let's be serious, but it's just something that can happen. Meantime, a lot of Sagittarius just have been in a lot of conflict with people in their lives, and there just been a lot of argumentative people and really bitchy people around you for the last since August 20th of last year. And when Mars retrograded on October 30th, you might have kind of gone backwards a little bit back, or they may backstep, and there may have been like turning down the flame on the stove, right? The heat, the verbal heat and conflict in your significant relationships might have toned down from October 30th to January 12th, because it's something Mars is doing to go back, reset, check out old ground, retrace his steps, see if this is what you want. But when he goes forward in January on the 12th, and if there's any conflict in an existing relationship, this is your turning point about a yes or a no, 2 thumbs up or 2 thumbs down. Siskel and Ebert, Mars never does 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. He's never lukewarm. He's hot, hot, cold, cold, but he's nothing in between. So your decisive energy around some significant other is coming to a head on January 12th to March the 25th. And it may not even be in your control, maybe their decision-making powers. Now, that said, Mars is also squaring in the 4th house of homeland and real estate and your home and where you live, those 2 asteroids, Hercules, the Herculean effort, and Arachne, something you could weave with your special skills and talents. You're definitely looking at some changes regarding home and where you live, because Mars brings change, and the 4th house is your 4th house of home. And so what is this change? But it requires some Herculean effort and some unique skill sets in order to pull it all off. With Neptune down there, some of you want to move to watery places. You want to be near a shore, a sea, want to get closer to the water, basically, even a lake or a stream or a river or a pond. You just want to get near water. Some of you Sagittarius are moving because of this transit. Not all of you are. Like in whole sign houses, if your IC floats in the 4th house, you're more likely to move than other Sagittarius rising people. I mean, so that's all I can say, and then the other thing is that you have that beautiful Juno sextile on February 2nd to 6th. Now, this is kind of like where, if you're in a distressed relationship, it could make up. So the breakup could lean around February 2nd to 6th towards a reuniting, a deeper union. If you're single and you're looking for a relationship with Jupiter in your 5th house of romance, and then Mars in the 7th house sextile Juno, a single person who's a Sag rising especially could end up finding somebody really quickly in the first week of February, and really seeing that this relationship is not only passionate, but can become quite committed quite quickly. Watch out for pregnancy. If you get pregnant or your partner does, Jupiter here until May the 16th can be a high fertility transit. Mars is a god of severing and abortions and miscarriages, and he's sextiling the 5th house, so that's not likely to happen. Any pregnancy you have, your partner will argue for it and want to keep it, right? If you're the guy, and if you're the girl, and you're getting pregnant, your partner may be arguing for you to keep the pregnancy. And the way I'm talking, it sounds like it's a surprise. It may not be. You want a baby anyway, and this is a good time to have one as a Sag rising especially. Then Chiron will be in a sextile to Mars, and you're going to heal a fundamental wound around your sexuality, around your love life and your romance life, or your relationship to your children. And that's going to be, or your own enjoyment and enthusiasm and inspiration for life. And, pleasures that we like, The house of pleasure is the fifth house. If you have pleasures that are your undoing, sometimes this house can activate a release of those pleasures, like too much of something is not good, right? And so overdoing the pleasures. And so this is going to be an opportunity maybe to release some quality of that overindulgence that you may have, or hedonism, and you're healing a chironic wound around that, around the 11th and 12th of the month. See, Mars is the lord of that fifth house. So I don't know, it could very well look like you're healing some kind of insatiable desire for pleasure or sexuality or something like that. And this is a profound energy to really move the needle for you. And then you do have this energy going on here of Mercury, the messenger of the gods, who also rules mercantile and money, in the third house of travel. As a patron of travelers and a protector of travelers, he's in a travel house. And so February 21st, 22nd, good news could happen around travel. And Mars is all aboard to do that with some significant person in your life. And quite possibly this is quite an important journey if you take it, because it's, you know, it's after the heated moments of all that intense conflict with someone in your significant other house. But if it's not about travel with or because of a relationship, Mercury here is a learning god and a study god in a learning house. And some of you Sagittarius will decide it's time, and you will come into contact with an opportunity to skills-based learn something that you can really use in your life. And so that will be February 22nd and 23rd. If you've had any conflict with a sibling in your life, this could be a resolution of the conflict as well around the 22nd and the 23rd, 21st, 22nd, 23rd of February. And if you're a writer, Mercury is trining Mars, your drive, your ambition to write, but also to get your writing into the hands of somebody else is going to up level too. So that takes another turn upward for you. And you know, there's so many ways to read a chart, but I will mention this for you. I mean, Mars here in your seventh house, Gemini, could have been literally you being in a relationship that was two-faced in some way, because Gemini can be about that double-bodied energy. And the conflict was about something that you would call the energy of two-facedness or something. And that could be a very powerful turnaround around some kind of conflict in a major love relationship, basically. I love the sexual healing that's going on here for you, especially. And Mars is giving you the new momentum to affect a healing romantically or sexually. And it may not even involve your partner, maybe your own internal healing around these themes. You may not even have a partner. You're just dealing with your own themes of healing sexual and passionate energies within yourself. I'm just pondering. Nope, that's all I want to say. Now we're going to do Capricorn. If you're in the live chat with me, you know, in the premiere kind of thing, don't forget, if you hit my like button during this recording today, during watching this with me, it really helps the channel grow. I mean, it extends my reach algorithmically tremendously the more likes I get during these little sessions with you guys. And we're moving to the next sign. So I just have to tinker over here. I didn't have it queued to move it. Give me a sec. Seriously, guys, I could go a little bit faster if I got this down to a fine art. Hang on. I lost the screen. I must have minimized it. Fuck, excuse my language. Capricorn. All right, Cappies, here we go. Sun, moon, and rising sign. Yeah, so in your storyline, Mars is moving forward after being retrograde since back in August, and he'll be out of your, and all the way through to March 25th. He's spending so much time in one sign, right? That's the big picture story. That's your sixth house of your work and work habits and health routines. A lot of you had surgeries with Mars here. Mars is a god of scalpels and sharp objects and pointy penetrating things. And so therefore, I bet you any money, most Capricorn risings can tell the tale of some kind of surgical procedure that has been ongoing since, you have had since August 20th last year. My Capricorn ex-husband had 2 eye surgeries for, I think, cataracts during this time. Mars retrograding, Mars direct, just Mars here is about work, but it can be ending, severing, or cutting away from work, hostilities or conflict or arguments in the workplace, or things to do with moving with new momentum and direction in a new line of work. Those are all possible. My Cappy ex-husband retired from his job and his work. So there's an example. Now, Mars here retrograding on October the 30th through to January 12th meant you were kind of backpedaling a bit, and maybe it was like I retired but they want me to consult, or I have to finish up all these loose ends in my work or my health routines, or I have to go back and have that surgery done again. There was a glitch if you did it during the retrograde, etc. And so there's a sort of backpedal. And the backpedaling's around leasing property as well, and also around issues to do with pets. So this backtrack is like setting a new spring forward momentum. So the backtrack serves you. It's not just to make things difficult. And so as you move forward, the dog, as you move forward, you're moving forward for better health and better work and health routines. That's the blessing of Mars from March the 12th to the January 12th to March the 25th. I'm going to pause for you. Yes, he's not feeling well. I think he has to go to the bathroom again. The dog's below me. Are you okay, Milo? Can you give me, let's get Capricorn done and then I'll take you back out. And then I would say to you that with this energy finally finishing up, it's also eliminating karmic debts. Karmic debts is a sixth house and it's on the axis of karma, and you're getting rid of them and you're slicing away your karmic debt relationships out of your life. Adios, sayonara, gone for good. And now he's going direct and you're ready to move forward, karmic debt free, but some of you debt free. You paid off a credit card, you paid off a mortgage. He'll allow you to pay off debts as well as he moves forward, eliminate, cut, and sever your debt. So that's good news for Capricorns. And this is a sun, moon, and rising sign. But mostly rising. And as he moves forward, he's also connecting, just as he stations to go forward, in that square to the two asteroids, Herculean effort Hercules, and the asteroid, the Weaver asteroid. What's her name? OMG. Arachne, the spider. So where do you have to make a Herculean effort regarding siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, travel and trips and journeys, or skills-based learning, third house themes that Mars wants to push forward on? So example, taking a class and getting a license so you can have a new job. That's an example of this. Getting a new skill set, and it's a Herculean effort, but you've got a natural gift at it. Or something to do with a sibling and the effort it takes to deal with them, but you've got a gift with dealing with them, and it's going to help you move forward in some new way. Then later on, Juno will be forming a sextile from your fourth house of land, property, and real estate. This could be contracts and agreements around renting a place, most likely renting because Mars is in the house of tenancy as opposed to selling. Some of you are looking at leases and renting and property storylines, but it's possible because the fourth house is legacy wealth, that this may have something to do with an inheritance property or money and inheritance stories to do with real estate and land. And Juno is agreements and contracts being formed and forged in the sky for you on your behalf, thanks to Mars, that work on your behalf and in your favor. And then Chiron, the wound, is being activated and healed by Mars and Chiron together. And this is a wound in your fourth house of belonging. How have you felt like you don't belong in some fundamental way to your family of origin, to your tribe, to even the place you're currently living? And there's a healing of this woundedness around belonging, as maybe you're getting ready to move to some place where you belong more. Or belonging questions and fitting in and conforming are not really any more a problem for you. Maybe you just fly that freak flag or be yourself or whatever. So it's a fundamental, like, I don't belong, like I'm a changeling. Somehow I got lifted from the nest. Now you're not born with that because I don't have your personal chart, but you've been feeling like you don't belong since 2019, right? That's the journey of Chiron through the fourth house for you. And then this is still healing to 2026, but this is a major turning point because Mars is directly acting on it after being in one place for so long. And then finally, Mercury, the messenger of the gods and the Mr. News and Information, will trine the Mars story. And that's from your second house of money. And this is really very good for your money. Capricorn people, this is like, do you get a raise, a promotion, a new financial opportunity, a new momentum in your earnings, a new job, a new vocation, a new calling? Mercury brings good money news. Mars says it's connected to paying off debts, leases, tenancy, jobs, and work. So you finish strong as a Cap with some kind of love up from Momentum Mars, fixed sword, star Aldebaran, and the sword of Michael, bringing you worldly success to do with money and work, or tenancy and debt relief and money. stuff like that. Mercury rules negotiations and contracts as well. Maybe there's a negotiation and contract around a new possession. And a possession can be everything from a car to, yes, a property. Why? Because I've noticed that whether you're leasing that property or buying it, it's a temporary possession. Although technically they say that's not true. That's not how I've seen it in my clients' charts. That's not how it works. You possess the place you live. It doesn't possess you. And it's not movable, but it's still a possession. You can move from it. That's my lecture on the meaning of the, and by the way, the second house is food, shelter, water, survival needs, and that includes a property. So some of you caps are looking at a property shift in a positive way by the end of February, thanks to this transit. Now, let me check the dog. I think I'm going to take him for a spin around the block and finish this video, but it will be pitch black when I get back. I just took him for a quick pee a few signs back. Let's see, he's not standing there, so we'll give it one more heave-ho for Aquarius. Last thing I could say about this story for you, Capricorns, is that Mars exalts you, right? He's exaltation lord of Capricorn, or he gets VIP treatment in Saturn's house. So you have a special kind of relationship to Mars, and he's in his house of his joy in his sixth house, your sixth house. So this is quite auspicious for you. Honestly, this is really lovely information time where Mars is really propelling forward. And as for health challenges and surgeries, you're probably done. I think he's finished with you on that regard. And, you know, all said and done. I don't think you need any more surgeries, but if you want one, you're good to go because he's in direct motion and flowing angles to a lot of other planets. So get that surgery if you haven't had it already. It should go swell. It should go really swell. How's that for an old-timey word? Simply swell. All right, Capricorn. And just to be saying, you know, Mars going forward amplifies, of course, that lovely fourth house energy because he owns your fourth house. So, yeah, things are looking up in your home life and your home. That's moving forward to the next sign. What sign did I put up? I'm still in Capricorn. Sorry, I thought I had moved it over. Aquarius. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. I'm one of you. Aquarius, ascendant rounds 18 degrees or 16, depending on my rectified chart. Welcome to this story of Mars. And Mars has been moving through your romance and children house. And it's been happening since August 20th. And it finishes up on March the 25th. In my own story, this looked like a romance that started up in the summer before Mars retrograded. Started after, basically in earnest, kind of as he entered August 20th into my fifth house. Then he retrograded October 30th, and I kind of pulled back and retraced my steps because it was too much, too soon, too fast, is how I explained it to this person that I was engaged in romance with. And it doesn't mean it's always too soon, too much, too fast, but at that time it was. As Mars retrograded, spring coiled action, it's given me time to reflect a lot on what I really want in a relationship and what I don't want, and what I need and what I don't need, etc. And so if I do re-engage that relationship, which it could happen, then I'm coming in stronger from a place of strength and self-knowing. So ask yourself, as a Aquarius rising, has that happened to you in any kind of love story or romantic engagement? Same principle applies to your children. What did you backtrack on with children? I went back to Vancouver from Ontario to be around with my daughter. So this timed with me coming back to the west coast of Canada after being on the other coast for a while. And so where the romance was actually. So basically, and my sister and other things. So basically, you know, I've gone back and regrounded with my children, both live in Vancouver. I've gone back to reassess what I want in romantic love, etc. So these are two clear paths that may have been ongoing since August and retrograded into some contemplation and retrenchment, changing your mind, changing your direction for a lot of Aquarius risings. But finally, it's a house of independent business enterprise, inspiration, the muse. You know, which ways is your independent business changing because of this? What ways have you grounded? Are you going to ground it into something new, like find a new foundation or ground for it? Because during the retrograde time, Mars went way back from all the way from like 25 degrees of Gemini to 8. So there's a lot of territory that was covered in your fifth house. Certainly, you know, planets in that range were getting activated. And depending on, you know, how you see yourself in terms of creativity, Mars was asking you to reassess that. If you're an artist or a creative type in any way, especially writing with the Gemini fifth house, you're being asked to look more deeply at what kinds of ways and means you want to create things as an artist or a creator or a writer or whatever. Now, Mars will, Mars did all this stuff. Now he's out of retrograde, moving forward on January 12th to March 25th. So those things that went backwards could go forwards, or new forward momentum can happen in love, romance, sexuality, relationship to your children, independent business enterprise, and creativity. Also more fun, play, joy, and pleasure, and physical exercise that you find enjoyable. Mars is very athletic in the 5th house. Yeah, the dog needs to go out. And so bottom line is, this is exciting. And I think I'm going to have to pause. So I'm going to put a note to my finger that I finished talking about. Okay, and then sexuality. Mars is about sexual passion, sexual intensity. He's in the house of sexuality. He's been going backwards. So if you thought you were going to be a sexual being, you may have pulled back, or if you whatever that means, or if you were in a sexual romance or was going to be sexual, you may have pulled back, or one of your children to do with not your, that sounds incestuous, but a story about your child and their intensity around sexuality or issues around sexuality or whatever may have been in the forefront for you, okay? May not even be your story, and you be on the sidelines watching or trying to help, all right? So I'm going to pause this and I'm going to get to the rest of the Aquarius, and I'll be right back. And all I don't need is an internet failure where I have to splice this together. You know what I mean? When I have to then cobble together 2 pieces of the story. Hang on, I'll be right back. Poor doggy, not feeling well. Okay, I'm back. It was pouring rain out there. I had to put a hat on after I got out. At least it covered my hair. Okay, so back to we Aquarians. Okay, so retrograde, return to renewed sexuality, renewed romance, renewed connection with children. I have to say, with the children piece, Mars is a god of ending, cutting, and severing. And some people who are Aquarius rising, as he goes forward, you could be separating from a child. Now that could be either going off to college or something, but also, like for me, for example, my daughter does live in the same town as me right now. And but the thing is, well, that means less time together. She lived with my daughter lived with me for 2 weeks almost when over Christmas, when her boyfriend was away, and I'm babysitting this dog. So we were thrust into cohab together. We had the best time. It was a very healing time because we went shopping, we didn't fight, we got along, everything went really, really well. So we're separating away from that now, but also maybe it's helping me as a mother separate away from my need to overfunction and take care of my child. She's 23. So, mother-daughter relationships are complex, right? And she reminds me, Mom, I'm 23, I got this. And I have to trust her on that. Although she still asks me for drives places. Mars, I'm driving her. She's taking her driving tests soon, and I'm her practice driver. So she goes to work, and I let her use my car, and I'm her driving instructor. So this is exactly the kind of thing that's so literal. Mars is cars and automobiles and moving things that you get around on, locomotion. And I'm teaching her to drive. So ask yourself, as an Aquarius rising, where have you gone back and backpedaled since October 30th on things to do with romance and creativity and independent business enterprise, enthusiasm and pleasure, pulling back on pleasures, like doing things like I'm doing, dry Jan, pulling back away from your relationships with your children, or we're pulling towards you or away from you, because the retrogradation would have been a turning around of a direction. I'd moved to Ontario, it was away from my daughter. Retrograde Mars brought me back. So it often means a changing of your direction regarding children. What happened October 30th to January 12th. And for some of you who aren't parents yet, that could have been about changing your mind about wanting to have a child and doing a child thing now. Mars does bring miscarriages and all that, and abortions, and also medicalized, penetrative procedures around children and pregnancy. So anyone in those age groups may have experienced some of that during the retrograde, unfortunately. But there's always a purpose for everything. But now that Mars is going direct, there's new momentum around conception, children, surgeries for your, like getting the baby out, maybe planning that C-section or something, and things to do with all the other stuff I mentioned. Now, Mars is also talking in a relationship to those 2 asteroids in Pisces. That has to be with what is the Herculean effort you're going to make in your life as an Aquarius rising to make money. And you're doing it with some unique and special gift or skill that you alone have that can best the gods. All right, so there you go. It's that simple. I'm not sure what that is for me yet. It could be many different things, teaching my classes, doing my new Deep Code Astrology podcast and getting that set up. Who knows? But we'll see what that'll be. Deep Code Astrology is my new thing, but it's not a new channel. It's it's going to be separate from this, but it's more podcast style. And then what else? That's about it on that. And then Juno. So when Mars comes into contact with Juno, the asteroid of contracts, agreements, and vows and fidelity and things like that, it's happening with Mars moving into forward momentum, praise his soul, Junoizing in his own house of Aries. Juno sits in Aries in your third house. Now, your third house is the house of your siblings and trips and travel, agreements and contracts and vows with siblings, things to do with agreements and contracts for travel. But third house is also marketing, writing. It can be about your website, your online presence. So things like that. Jupiter's here bonifying this part of your sky, Aquarius, all the way through to the middle of May. So you're having a great deal of success teaching or learning, a great deal of success writing, a great deal of success. Certainly this is good for writing. A lot of Aquariuses can get new momentum, Mars direct, and getting a commitment to writing, sextiling Juno, the goddess of that committed energy. And then we see Chiron come into the story next. Chiron is definitely about healing some fundamental challenge or wound that you've been experiencing regarding the issues of travel, neighborhood, location of neighborhood, writing, online world, businesses, marketing, etc. since 2019. For any Aquariuses who aspire to write, and this is like a very journalism house, and I have 3 planets here and I was a journalist, this can open up a healing around some of the wounds you have around writing. A friend of mine, Kim Hudson, author of The Virgin's Promise, said she thinks I have this wound around writing to do with being like good enough or something, and maybe she's right. But that wound only was arising in my knowledge of it since, Chiron got into the third house of writing. That was way back in February of 2019. So we can have some wounded healings, a wound healing with a sibling in your life, a wound healing with aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew, niece. That wound healing is happening later on. So Juno was February 2nd to 6th, but the wound healing with Chiron is February 11th and 12th. Look for some major sibling healings as well. If you have any wounds with a relationship with that sibling, you can definitely see those change for the good and for a long, like a new trajectory with your sibling. Mars is in the house of leisure travel moving forward, and the third house is his house, and it's a travel house. So you may be traveling and maybe travel with or because of a sibling, and it's a very healing trip, or the opportunity for that arises February 11th and 12th as an example, or traveling with a child or some of your children. That could be a very healing trip as well. These are examples. And February 11th and 12th may be the gateway for that, or the time that the trip is happening, or the opening to the possibility where you know about an opportunity for that travel. Finally, Mercury will form a trine relationship towards this Mars, and Mercury is going to open up a gateway of something very positive from Aquarius. So he's applying towards Mars. He's kind of got the upper hand. He's in a superior position. He's kind of trying to tell Mars what to do. Good luck, eh? But Mercury's going for it. And it's in the house of you. So you're trying to tell Mars what to do. It's your communication, your forthright speech, your ideas, your genius that you are applying your intellect toward what Mars is trying to achieve in the 5th house of children, leisure travel, independent business, your children, romance, and you've got your head on straight. Mercury's right there. And when you're communicating aloud or within yourself, the idea of what you want, and you're giving Mars direction. And this is really fantastic, because also Mercury likes to think, to have ideas, and to write. And so all of these things that you're doing, Mars is applying toward the creativity, independent business muse, and money luck. We have money luck in the 5th house. Mars is not a placement for money luck here. That would be Venus or Jupiter, but just know that it's a positive house where Mars is traveling. And so keep that in mind. And that's how you finish strong, Aquarius. Yay you, go for it. And Mars does rule your 10th house of career, and there may be some new momentum there, but technically he's in aversion to that house. So I think it's more really what everything I've just said. Okay. And I took a break for the dog's emergency poo. This is about the 4th one today. I need to text the owner and tell her we got to get him into the vet. And that's definitely going to have to happen. I'm going to talk next about Pisces, and then we're done because it is increasingly dark. All right. The room is getting dark. All right, let's see if this lamp goes any brighter. I have one little desk lamp and I'm using, It's so funny. I used to have such high production values with a diva ring or, a ring light. That's better. And now I'm just kind of winging it here in the dark. That's what happens when you've been doing YouTube for so many years. All right, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. First of all, my heart goes out to all of the Pisces of the world in a way, because you're going to go into that Saturn going through your sign on March 7th. And I know that I just went through it as an Aquarius, and it's a tough taskmaster, Zen master with a stick, getting you to get your act together. And basically, since Pisces are always swimming fish in different directions and Saturn will have none of it, you're under a kind of a 2.5-year boot camp by Saturn. It's coming up in March. Get ready. No more waffling, indecision, dreamy, mystical, whatever. You're going to get down with reality and try to make your dreams real, actually, which is a really good thing because Neptune is there. So that's just to say, hey, I get it. You're going into a new place, and it's going to be interesting for the March 7th add to February 26th timeframe. And watch my video for that, all about Saturn going through the sign of Pisces. It's in my playlist for big transits of 23. So for you got Mercury in this, Mars in this forward momentum finally. So don't forget, your fourth house of your home and your real estate and your property and your life at home. Mars has been there since August 20th, and it will leave on March 25th. This can be conflict in the home and injuries in the home, people injuring themselves in the home, accidents close to home. But then on the other hand, it's also conflict in the home, disagreements in the home, domestic strife can be that. Also, sometimes people cut away from the home and leave the home. Somebody grows up and leaves the home. Your roommate cuts out and leaves. So this has been going on since August. Sometimes it's construction and renovations in the home. Now, Mars here in Gemini, which is about making decisions as well. Mars is an action taker, but Mars retrograded on October 30th. And this set things back a bit, and there was a change of direction regarding everything I just mentioned. Now, you may also have gone back into like reassessing a decision or thinking twice about it regarding property, land, home, real estate, legacy wealth, inheritances, and domestic conflict. And as Mars, and it's verbal conflict mostly, or idea conflict, because it's an air sign, not physical conflict. And as Mars is retrograding now, is finished on January 12th and through to March 25th, he goes direct. That rumination is like spring-coiled action where you're going to bounce forward and get more momentum regarding decisions you're making and actions you're taking regarding land and property, home and real estate, or around ending what was a conflictual situation within the home. And as Mars moves forward, and you got a sword of Aldebaran and Archangel Michael here, he's really strong under that very worldly success star. As he pivots forward, he starts off by squaring the two asteroids at 8 degrees of the sign of you. That is going to be both the Herculean effort that you need to put into place in order to achieve some kind of momentum regarding your home and your home situation, but also Arachne, the asteroid that represents your unique gifts and skills that can better the gods, and that is your unique genius that is so special. So where is that genius that you need to take momentum on? Because Mars here can give you momentum not just to change your home, but to change what you do within and from your home. And Herculean effort, why are you applying a Herculean effort towards something to do with the fourth house in the very beginning? I don't know. Maybe you have to apply the effort to make it happen and help Mars out here by making actionable decisions, like making decisions, putting your decision-making hat on, which is especially important for Pisces because like Geminis, you're somewhat indecisive some of the time. So you need that decisive Mars energy to work for you, not in this situation. Now, you have as well the idea here that Mars moving forward can cut away something to do with real estate and land and home. So you may sell a property, you may end your tenure at a place you've been renting. It can definitely look like a severing or ending, and especially if your IC, the opposite of the MC, is on the bottom of the fourth house. In other words, especially if it's close to 8 degrees, right? Or your rising sign or your is close to 8 degrees, sun and moon secondarily. If your rising sign is close to 8 degrees and Mars is stationing at 8 degrees, that's important to you. Real big, important change of home, maybe selling or buying or moving home. But also if it's your IC near 8 degrees of Gemini, big deal as well. Okay. And your IC floats in whole sign houses. It's somewhere between 0 to 29 degrees of Gemini. It's not, or it could be also in the sign of Taurus, or also in your 5th house in the sign of Cancer. Bottom line, that's why you do whole sign houses. You have midheaven floating through houses 7 to 12. You have IC floating potentially from houses 1 to 6. That it's all latitude oriented. That's why Placidus is stupid. You're born in the North Pole, you're really effed, right? You're going to have like one whole first house that encompasses 3 signs. It's ridiculous. Honestly, the modern system was invented in a dearth of knowledge without the translating of the ancient texts. Only India knew to keep the whole sign houses until Project Hindsight in the 90s declared, oh, by the way, this is how it works, because we translated all the ancient texts from ancient Egypt and Persian and Arabic. And yeah, so Placidus, I don't know, I'm pretty adamant about it. Like if you're born in the northern or deep southern latitudes, especially at times when the sun, there's deep inclinations like winter. I mean, you're just looking at a chart that's so skewed, right? And it makes no sense, and you can never use it for proper timing techniques because you don't have one sign, one house, one ruler. All right, I need to do a video on this, don't I? So I do, because I'm passionate about it. So then I think I will do that. I want to educate you guys on this. And so then anyway, back to you, Pisces. Your potential for a move is 80%. Honestly, it's 80% if your IC is in the 4th house, but for all Pisces, there's a big chance of a severing or a moving from the current home to a new home. And that could be something you do, all right, physically, or something that you plan strategically between January 12th and March the 25th. And also moving forward on renovations and construction on a property that you had to forestall while he was retrograde. And hopefully the end of direct domestic verbal abuse or conflict can come through this as well. Now, he does make this love up angle to Juno, and that's February 2nd to the 6th, which could be Mars forming legal contracts and agreements regarding monetary policies to do with property, land, real estate renovations, and all of that, buying and selling as well. That could be hiring an agent to sell a property, those sorts of things, buying a property and securing an agreement. But really, it looks more like, it's not really a mortgage house. So it looks more like maybe securing some kind of monetary agreement regarding property, land, home, and real estate. February 2nd to the 6th. And then later on the 11th and 12th of February, Chiron gets into a sextile with that same Mars in your 4th house. And it is also from your 2nd house of earnings and money. This could be you healing a deep self-worth wound, or a self-love or self-esteem wound around your value and your earnings that go with that value. Jupiter is trying to up-level, plant golden eggs of new prosperity in your earnings house all the way to March the 16th. And you won't get that back for another 12 years. So you want to run with that one. And so go with it. And so, Jupiter's trying to up-level you financially. Yay! And at the same time, you're healing a financial wound. The same wound, Chiron in the 2nd house, can also be a wound about your eating and your food styles, and sometimes leads to eating disordered or disordered eating. But Mars may also help you eliminate any disordered eating or any wounds around the kinds of things that you eat that may not be good for you, or especially just literally a wound around food. Now, this Chiron has only been in your 2nd house since 2019 February, but you may have been addressing food style choices and wounds around money, monetary worth, self-worth, earnings, possessions, and what you eat and what you drink and what you put in your mouth. And Mars is also cutting you away from the ancestral legacy lines with that wound. Maybe you have a wound around money because of one of your parents, and now you're going to cut away from that monetary wound, and you're going to live your life without carrying the burden of an ancestral familial wound, even a mom and dad story that you've got inside of your system. You can't shake it. My dad said, money doesn't grow on trees, and I now beg to differ. It sure does. It grows on the tree of what my passion is. And you have to figure out how you have to undo those stories too. It is so grainy right now in this video. Sorry about that. Perfect for Pisces to have grainy video content because you guys are so foggy and diffuse, especially with Neptune there. Pisces are spiritual, and they're here to attain enlightenment for the world. So I don't want to dismiss you guys. I know that one of my Pisces viewers thought I was being dismissive of Pisces. You guys are like the mystic poets of the zodiac, and you're aspiring naturally to transcendence, and you have one of the highest levels of creative, imaginal art possible. So there's your kudos to you. Then later on, Chiron will sextile. Oh, I did that. Mercury will trine, a very lucky opportunity energy. Nature of Jupiter is a trine Mercury will trine on February 21st, 22nd, kind of 23rd time frame, Mars, and he's doing that from the backroom deals and negotiations of your 12th house. This is where things are being cobbled together behind the scenes. This is revenue from PayPal, Stripe, and overseas revenue you can accrue through those payment processors in our modern day, or import export if that's something you do. This is also Mercury in the house of your dreams and your visions and your imagination, and nocturnal dreams, I mean. And so you could have a powerful dream coming through that Mars wants to execute as forward action regarding land, home, property, domestic, private life, and real estate. And that's going to be coming through around February 21st. Alrighty. Thanks, Pisces, for listening. I think I went as long with you as I did with most people, being conscientious about that for you guys. And, with Mars being the ruler of your second house of earnings and Jupiter there and Mars now heading forward, you are going to step into a new power and a new success and momentum and direction even regarding how your earnings look and how your money looks. And that's going to start feeling more strong as we move through February into March. Okay. So Mars is coming out the starting gate in January 12th, but he's building like a locomotive, building up a head of steam and getting faster and faster and faster. So you're going to see a greater and greater and greater momentum through to March 25th in what you would say is to do with your earnings as he forms, inferior sextile to your second house. But also don't forget, he's tipping his hat here to the idea that Jupiter in his house is going to help you expand your money. It's his house and he's now moving forward. And because he's in Mercury's sign, you might move forward in ways that Mercury approves of: messaging, marketing, merchandising, selling, communicating. Those are Mercury storylines. All right. Alrighty. And Mercury rules your seventh house of the audience, the clients in the marketplace. For some of you Pisces, that will be meaningful. All right. I am out of here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're still with me in the live premiere. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. I do so much want to celebrate. I hit 16,000 subscribers. This is January 7th. So yeah, it was yesterday on January 6th, or maybe it was the day before. And that's well past my threshold of just wanting to get to 10,000 by the end of 2022. So I'm forever grateful to everybody who cheerleads me on, even the trolls, because you guys are also, you get a bee in my bonnet. And sometimes my trolls have turned into my allies in the sense that you give me content in your trolling, ideas wise, that I go ahead and use. Like there was one really good example of somebody like kind of a negative comment. And I thought, well, maybe he's right. Yeah, I'll try that. Or maybe I could try to accommodate that person. And I can't remember which one that was, but it turned out to be a good thing. All right. And don't forget, take my courses. They're down below. Sky Reader, I love teaching. And also my Divine Timing Masterclass. And also I have another class coming up. By the time this video is out, though, you might not have time to sign up. It's my advanced course, my masterclass for using annual perfections. It goes well beyond the basics. But you won't want to take that course unless you've studied the basics of annual perfections. But if you're into annual perfections and you want to learn some really cool hacks that you may not have known about, because I've been using them now I've been investing a lot of my energy into perfections for 4 years, and I figured a few things out. And what I taught was taught. It's what I figured out, and it works. So why don't you come take my advanced perfections class, which is happening on, I have to remember the date, but it would be Sunday the 15th, I think. I'll put that in the description box before you. If you want to sign up, it's only $25. All right. Ciao, ciao. It's live and you get the replay as well. And everyone take care. And it's been fantastic talking with you through the virtual land of YouTube.